Well, well, well. Look who it is. It's chat. Good to see you. Hold on, let me adjust my brightness there. I'm a little dark. I'm not very well lit today. Yeah, come on. I gotta get me those YouTube, what do they call them? Those stream setup lights? That's what I need. How do I adjust my exposure? Oh, wow, first donation already. Thanks so much, Tomuk, for the 20.
So how many generations do you think separate Gabi from Megafauna, progenitor of the feral cat girls last seen in Dominion Tank Police?
What? What does that mean? What is... I don't know. Let me read this. How many generations separate Gabi from Megafauna, progenitor of the feral cat girls last seen in I have no earthly idea what that is, man. Look. Okay, all I know is Gabi willed into existence somehow, and I look after her, okay? That's all I know. I don't know what her lineage is. No idea. So I don't know. I don't know what's Dominion Tank Police? I got no idea. Is this some kind of anime reference? Is this what you anime guys watch? Dominion Tank Police? Brooding arc. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a brooding mood lately. I don't know what, is this some kind of show, Dominion? I gotta, you guys make me feel so old. I'm gonna say it. That's one that, I've been thinking, have I washed up? Have I fallen off? And because every time I come on here, I get told about some new thing I haven't heard of. Dominion Tank Police. Okay, that still doesn't, I'm just looking it up. I still don't know what this is. Some kind of manga. Well, okay, I think I see what you're trying to say. I don't know. I'm not sure if Gabi comes from this lineage. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. This looks very retro, so I don't know, man. But yeah, cool. I don't know. Yeah, a big ups Dominion fans, I guess. Whatever that is. The city in that show has legendary design. All right, well, that's kind of interesting. If they could remove all the characters from the show and just have the backdrops, that I'd maybe consider watching it. Hey, Mooney Mocha. Missed the last 3 chats, but I made up for it for being the first on Twitch. Oh, lovely. Hey, Demon Lord, good to see you too. How's your day? Well, my day has just begun. I spent a bit of time this morning on more trims. That's sort of been this is what I'm here to tell you. The answer to that question for the rest of the stream. I'm going to tell you how my whole week has been. Let me just adjust my light there. It's getting in my eyes. Yeah, I don't have I just use this really old lamp I've had for 15 years as my light. I don't have those diffuse light streamer panel things. I don't know, I can't afford cool equipment like that, so I invested it all in the microphone, because good audio I think is more important. But I don't know, one of these days when I become a rich millionaire from my game, I gotta get nice old tungsten lights or something. That'd be sick. Get a proper camera and everything set up. But I guess the Logitech webcam and 15-year-old office light should do. But yeah, it's been all right. It's been good. I've been mostly kind of chipping away at the video, and I can't really show bits of that because a lot of it is audio stuff. So this next devlog I'm doing is on Gabi's model. Which, what's funny, actually, because I keep forgetting that you guys haven't actually really seen it much up close. Yeah, so I've been working on the video for that, and I've been, doing more look dev stuff with this level. But, yeah, one thing I keep forgetting, because every time I show this on stream, everyone freaks out. And it's funny, because I kind of don't, I've kind of lost my... I don't really notice anything anymore, if that makes sense, because I've looked at this so much. I don't even really, I don't know. To me, this is just how she's looked for the last 6 months. But I keep forgetting that you guys haven't actually really gotten to see this up. You only ever see this on my live streams. So because you guys have probably seen the old model a lot in the prototype, and you've been able to play her in game and like, you know, get the camera really up close and like check out all the nice whatever on the old model. But it's not so fun to do on the old model because it's bad. So I keep forgetting that, because I don't know, I've been working on this video for like, I think 2 months to try and pack the story, because it's like 9 months of development I'm trying to compact into like 40 minutes, which is very difficult, and to not make it boring, because there's probably like 40 minutes of those 9 months that were actually interesting. The rest of it is just repetitive busy work mainly. So it's hard to condense, but I managed to take out a lot of fluff this week that just wasn't adding anything to the video. So, but it you know, it's when you work on the same video that long, it gets you get kind of sick of it, and it's like I don't even want to listen to it. I don't want to watch it. I'm just finished with it. Like, I'm not finished. I want to be finished with it, but I'm mentally checked out and I'm done. I don't want to think about this anymore. But then I keep remembering that most people don't even know that I've made this. So I kind of have that to keep me going, I guess, where it's like, well, if I don't finish this, then no one will know that I did it. And that'll be a huge disappointment if they miss out on this epic news. So I have that hope that when people see it and have like a whole topic dedicated to it, and I actually bring attention to it, it'll kind of renew my enthusiasm in it, because I've kind of lost enthusiasm talking about this model, because it's just when you talk about the same thing for like 9 or whatever, how many months it was, because I had to spend time making it, and then I've had to spend all this time trying to make the video about it. You know, you get kind of sick of looking at it and hearing about it. So that's something I try to keep in mind. It's like, well, the people they don't know about this yet. They haven't seen this, and it's going to be awesome for them. So I try to keep that in mind. But the thing I'm more enthusiastic about lately has been environment stuff. So I've been doing a bit more. It's been a little slow. I've just been kind of tired from this video, and there's some other stuff that came up this week that I've had to just sort out, just like administration work and all this. But in terms of like actual fun stuff, the fun stuff for me this week has been trying to get better at making geometry in Trench Broom and trims. So this is the part. It's not. I haven't imported the latest version in Trench Broom yet, but you can see I've done up the lighting a bit more. I don't have like textures for light fixtures yet, but I've got the trims around them, and I've just added a light to them in Unreal to give you an idea of, if you just imagine a big glowing bloom thing in the middle here, that's what I want it to look like. But I haven't added that to the texture, so it's just it just clips through right now. But this is because my main thing at the moment with this level is getting the architecture and the whole. Just if I can just make a hallway look sensible and look not like it was made out of boxes in Trench Broom, that's the kind of level it needs to be, right? Because I think I was saying last week, I've been doing lots of studying on like level design architecture and stuff, and there's a few new observations I've made that I might get into in a little bit. But the main priority, because I think I said last week I wanted to do prop work, but I kind of realized that was the wrong order. So I had started doing some props here, like these cryo tanks and the computer terminal meshes, and I wanted to make like lockers and stuff. But then I tried doing it, and I would need textures for those, and I couldn't piece together yet how I would texture them, because I wanted to avoid texturing them the Blender way, where you make a separate texture for each object. I wanted to just have a sheet for props, like a trim sheet just used for all the props, so that all of them would use one texture. But I just couldn't picture how they would fit together yet. And then I started noticing that like I shouldn't be worried about props now. Because there is still some things lacking with the overall architecture. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. My pronunciation of that's terrible. But the overall structure of the environments themselves. And I'm going to try and see if I can find some footage from last month, because it might look incremental, but when you look at this level from last month, there is a huge difference in how much of an actual level it looks like. So I'm going to quickly hop over to my channel, Raymond Cripps YouTube, which subscribe and like, by the way. Oh, hey, this guy's live right now. We should check him out. But if we go and look at this same level from like last month, I don't know if there's I think it's like around here in the video I start showing it off. Well, here's just the opening room. You can already kind of see what I mean, architecture-wise and difference-wise. So if I go back a few frames, you see how it's like very basic. Yeah. You see how it's just kind of like, oh, it's literally just a box, and he's just put trims on it to try and hide it. But like it looked better than it was before this, but it is very primitive, and even I didn't quite realize how like this was baby steps. This was like baby's first BSP level, so that's why it kind of looks that way. Is there? I don't know if I show off a lot of footage. Yeah. So like stuff like this, right? And these were using licensed textures from somewhere else also. So the color scheme and look and everything is very different. But if you look at like these corridors, what I didn't know how to see yet, which I can now kind of see, is like the amount of missed opportunities with being expressive in the environment and making it more distinct. So now that I'm looking at it, I think I see what a lot of you were seeing, which maybe you didn't know how to say. You're probably looking at it and going, oh, there's just something missing. Like there's just something. And I think what it would be, if I had to put my finger on it, is with areas like this, it's like too, what's the word? It's like uncarved. It's like too primitive. Like basic and simple is good, but, well, simple is good, but this is basic, which is a bit not quite it. It has to be simple, but it can't be basic. It has to be simple. Sophisticated and simple is sort of the way it should be, I think. And it's just been a learning process of like figuring out what that means. And what that means will depend on the art direction or whatever it is. And that's tricky because I got back in touch with an old friend the other day, and she's a AAA artist, so she's way ahead of me. But she was showing me this lighting she did for some AAA game, some scene that she was doing. And I asked her, like, oh, how did you... Because it was really good insofar as that it wasn't noticeable, which is kind of an art in itself, where it's just good, and it's like humble, and it doesn't impose its presence on you, and it stays out of the way of the player. So it's the kind of thing that, because I think the clip she sent me, it was like some Let's Player playing the game, and she's like, oh, I did the lighting on this level. And it's like amazing how kind of innocuous it is. And it's like, oh, it's like, I wouldn't even think that someone lit this, as in like, it just feels like the sun is lighting this, like a real environment. Now, obviously, I think for the game she was doing, it's a bit different. It's the AAA realism, so it's a bit different, but the principles of design are still there in a different sense. So I remember asking, like, how did you know to do this? And she's like, I literally just did what my art director told me. And I was like, okay, cool. See, I don't have that luxury because I am the art director and the artist. So I have to figure out, firstly, what I want, actually, and then I actually have to do it. Whereas with AAA artists, they have a bit of an easier time where it's like, I'm just following orders, so I do what my art director tells me. And usually, you'd hope that the art director knows what they're doing. And it sounds like she has a pretty good... She's like this with her art director. They get on pretty well, and that's great. Unfortunately, I haven't met any good art directors, so I have to just kind of... I have to basically pretend to be both of those people and go back and forth with the voices in my head instead and deliberate with myself on what's good. And we're making progress, so that's good. Like, you know, this is starting to look like a place now and not just like a flat, boxy set of corridors like this. So I did a few things right with this old version. in that I didn't just use one texture for everything. Like that would be an even rookier mistake. So I at least did that. But it's still, in terms of the shape, that's the thing I wasn't looking at. I was just amazed that I could make geometry at all, but I wasn't thinking really at all about the things you have to do to kind of hide how it's built, if that makes sense. Because I think what people would notice with this is that, oh yeah, it looks boxy, and the right thing is them not noticing anything. That's when you win. It's like, oh, they don't even notice anything apart from the fact that this looks cool. That's the only impression you want to give them. You want to give them just an overall impression of like, oh, this is sick. And you don't really, there shouldn't be anything sticking out really that draws their focus too much. Because usually when that happens, it's usually something bad. It's like, oh, I noticed this detail and it sticks out like a sore thumb. If there's anything like that sticks out that way, it's bad usually. That never happens with a good, well-designed thing. So with things like corridors like this now, I've done a lot of changing with the scale, and I've been changing up a lot of the textures as well. And what I'm hoping is that you look at a corridor like this now, and it doesn't look like it's made out of BSP anymore. And it's like, oh, this looks like a corridor. And you shouldn't have any thoughts beyond that, unless you really wanted to look into it more. But the player should only ever be, it should register subconsciously that, oh, this makes sense, and then they just get on with playing. So but the things that get in the way of that is when you either underbake it like this, where it's kind of, you can tell something's off, or if you overdo it. So it's reaching that middle ground. So I've been doing a combination of geo, and I'll show you the trench broom version, and trims as well. And I feel like that's the right, I know I said I would do props, but it feels like this should come before props. I don't know how to explain it beyond that. But I tried modeling the props, and you know, the voices said, "No, you're doing this out of order. You gotta. This isn't it, Chief." And I said, "Okay." So I started thinking and looking more critically at the walls and everything. And it's like, well, the walls themselves, you can't cover this up with props, because I think that's what I was thinking. It's like, oh, well, if I just add more props everywhere, if I add pipes everywhere or something, then it'll hide it. And it's like that has to be done in moderation. It's not going to save it. Ultimately, it should still look sensible. Like you notice how in this area it's very boxy, but then in this corridor it's like more sophisticated, but it's still quite simple. That's the kind of thing it should be, where it's like, oh, this still looks decent, even if there's no props. Because then when you do add props, firstly, you won't need to add as many, because the scene holds up on its own anyway. And the ones you do add will be cool, and it's less work to add less props. Like, you won't need to add as many. The ones you add will be more meaningful and deliberate, and they won't be placed insecurely, if that makes sense. Because that's the mistake that the 15-year industry artist designer guy did, where he kind of just put crap everywhere, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I don't know, I just had a sense as I started trying to make props that if I didn't get this part first, then that's what would happen. So I don't know how to explain how that works exactly, because I'm just figuring it out. I guess you could call it like intuition or whatever, but that's kind of what the voices said. Okay, you guys know about the voices now, so I might as well stop pretending that they don't tell me this stuff. But that's what they tell me. Is Unreal available on Mac OS? I believe so, but I haven't used Mac in a long time. I don't know how well it does. Moon, oh sorry, I've been missing a bunch of your messages. Mooney says she has whiskers. Yeah, she's got whiskers. Sorry, I keep shifting the... Yeah, like I was saying, I keep forgetting. You guys haven't really seen her up close too much. But yeah, there's a lot going on. And that, you know, because some people might wonder how it was that this model took so long, and that's little things like that is why. So yeah, she's got whiskers and they're animated, and she's got a lot. She's got I got the headphones finally too, and she's got gloves now, and her suit glows, and I can't even remember what other details to point out that would be cool. Because see, I just look at this and it's not impressive to me anymore. It's like, oh yeah, that's Gabi. But yeah, I forgot. I think her old model did have whiskers too, actually. But it was so badly designed that you didn't even really notice. So, yeah. It's a bit like... It'd be like that, though. Absolutely insane progress for lighting an engine. Oh, thanks, Cosmic. Honestly, I'm still not really, like, 100% happy with it, but it's a start. I think these sorts of areas feel a bit off. I think it's a bit bland in these middle bits, but I'm kind of happy with the corridor, and I'm kind of happy with this area. And I've tried to do some spooky purple lighting in here. And you can tell the trims haven't quite exported properly in this part. I'm not really focusing on these areas yet. I'm just kind of focusing on hallways right now. But I'm glad you think so. I thought I would have to do like vertex lighting, because I remember a while back I was entertaining the possibility of vertex lighting, because it's like more basic or something. But I figured out a way to control Unreal's lighting a bit better, so that because Unreal doesn't have vertex lighting support anymore. It used to, back in 1998, but in 2000, whenever this version came out, 2020, it doesn't have that natively anymore. So a lot of these lights are, I think what I did, because I totally I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys before, but I was like messing around with point lights, because I've had to turn off a lot of GI, like this all baked lighting. It's baked very low res, and I think I might actually be able to get away with that for the final game too, because I've noticed, I remember we did this on stream once, maybe a few weeks ago, and I was talking about how with baked lighting, how cool it is. Because for some reason, I don't know why, but everyone I've talked to is like terrified of baked lighting. I don't know why. They all tell me that, oh, it takes so long, it takes forever, it's not worth it. And it's like, well, it takes me like 2 seconds to bake lighting. What the hell are you guys talking about? Turns out, if you're like most game developers in AAA, it is a bit of a nightmare, I think, because they do very high fidelity baked lighting with all of this global illumination stuff. And that takes a while. But if you're like me and you don't care about that, it's heaven, okay? It's easy, because there isn't any like bounce lighting going on. I've turned all of that stuff off. So all the thing that it's baking is just directly what the point lights are doing and nothing else. So it's not doing any bounces. And the quality settings I think it controls like the resolution and how many bounces it does. And if you don't need bounces, you can get away with like the lowest quality settings. Like here, I've got it on preview, which is like the low. Like this is the high quality stuff, and this is probably what people complain about, where it's like, oh, it takes 2 hours to make a map or whatever. They're probably doing it on production. But if you just completely absolve yourself of the need for fancy global illumination and just do preview, it's like it literally 30 seconds and it finishes. So that's what I've been doing, and then to take it even further, I've done a bit of adjustments here, because there's this whole hidden panel of settings that is just collapsed by default. Like by default, these are the options you get, and this was always frustrating as hell to deal with, because lights would either always be too bright or too dim or the wrong color or whatever, and that's because there was all the post-processing crap it would put on that would change the look of it. And with that all turned off, that was better. But then there was like the fact that it would get really intense in the middle of the light source and like rapidly fall off at the edges, which is not what I wanted. And it turns out there's a hidden option in here to change that. So you just turn off, it's like inverse squared fall off, which is like a physics thing. And it's like, oh, well, this uses physically based inverse square to make the light more realistic. And all I have to do is just say, no thanks, stop it. And then it just does it like linearly instead, which is sick. So now it doesn't use physical lighting anymore. It's just purely artistic, which is what I want. So I've had a much better time with that, and it's been good. So this is how I was able to light it like this. It's literally just using point lights only. Placing these point lights is a bit tedious, and it will be very tedious when I mesh everything out. So what I'm hoping for is that I hope that there's some kind of way to like place entities of these in Trench Broom and swap them out when porting the map over, because I know you can do that with some things with the hammer plugin. So I need to, if that's possible, I'd like to do that. But otherwise, this isn't like like having to place these manually isn't like too bad. Like it's not pleasant, but it's like I could put up with it, but I'd like for there to be a better way. That's something I'll probably work out later on once I'm actually knowing what I want, sort of what I want geo-wise and everything. But yeah, thanks, Cosmic. Raymond has hit Unk status, says my cousin. Well, your cousin can shush the hell up, okay? I don't care. I'm not that old, okay? You'd be surprised, but I'm not going to tell you. That's my personal information. But I'm not. Look, I'm just withdrawn. I'm not old, okay? I have an old soul. I'm just really apathetic to mostly everything that isn't my game. So maybe that's what it is. If you can replace those with blueprints, I mean, maybe. I don't know if that would be necessary though. Like I wouldn't really see a point in making them blueprints. Do Gabby's whiskers work like normal cat whiskers? Well, I don't know. I actually don't know how normal cat whiskers work. So we'll have to ask Gabi that. Well, yeah, that's the weird thing. Because I mean, I did some cat research and I did some anatomy research and stuff when making the model. But Gabi isn't like fully cat-like exactly. She's like kind of a mix. And I personally, I actually don't like cats too much, honestly. Like cats, I appreciate them aesthetically, but I'm allergic to them and they don't like me. And there's that. So I haven't owned a cat. I never want to own a cat. I avoid people that own cats, and I stay away from cats and cats stay away from me. And that's how we like it. But, yeah, so because of that, I haven't really been intimately close to cats that much and like studied how their whiskers work. Yeah. Did you rig the whiskers? Yeah. So I did rig them. So I don't know how they work in a real cat, but I know how Gabi's whiskers work. And they work like an animation appendage. So they're kind of mostly still in her idle, but for falling and flipping, the whiskers do have like they react to like when she's like moving around. It's kind of not really that noticeable though in retrospect because she's so far away. But when she's doing her flips and stuff, her whiskers will bend in the way that her head's twisting. So I don't know if I can get a freeze frame on this. Let's freeze frame. I don't know if we can get a close up. Yeah, you can kind of see here that they're sort of like bending in the direction that her head's spinning. But yeah, this is a really... Sorry, I'm getting a bit too close to you there, Gabi. I'm invading her personal bubble. And then, you know, when she lands, they'll sort of blow backwards a bit. So yeah, it's... Most people probably don't care, but I think it's cool. So the main thing is that when I'm posing them for promotional stuff, it's handy to be able to pose them. That was the main reason I rigged them. So for if we go to the website, where's the... Oh, why did I type in Steam? I just want the website. Like if we go, and yeah, the main reason is so that I don't know if I can open just the render. There we go. So if you do stuff like this, I can pose them like that instead of them just being, you know, because I modeled them straight. But if you have them rigged, when you have cool renders, you can curve them and pose them like that. So that's kind of a good advantage to have too, because it adds I don't know, it adds flow to the face, or whatever word you want to use. It adds, you know, something, which is cool. Will Feline ride a tank? Probably not. There's going to be no vehicles. Do you plan to do a dead video on how you do your levels? Yeah, of course. Eventually, yes. The main thing with this is, so what I've been doing, because here's the thing about my devlog series. As you might have noticed, I put a lot of work into those videos. Or maybe not. Maybe you don't notice, but I do put in a lot of work into the videos. And that's because they need to get seen. Because, like that's part of sort of my income. So the videos have to actually get some decent views on them. And that takes time to make a good video. The thing is, I work much faster on the game than I do making videos, which maybe is a good thing. And as a result, the videos are like a year behind where I actually am. So all of the stuff you see, that's why I do the streams, because I know that the hardcore, the real fans like you guys, you probably really want to know what's happening. But unfortunately, if you're only there on the devlogs, you're going to be like 6 months to a year behind, just because it's just a lot of work to keep people updated like that. Because, you got to... If you want a video to get like seen by 100 or 200,000 people, you got to put in the work. It's like its own second job, really. So, yeah. So as a result, they're a bit behind. I call that the you know how like with anime and manga, people always say that like a lot of animes are based on mangas, and the mangas are usually like 10 seasons ahead of where the anime is. That's basically what's happened to my devlog series. So think of these live streams and the Patreon stuff as the manga of like what's happening now, and then in 6 months you'll probably see a video about it eventually. Is sort of how it is. So yeah, the current video I'm working on that's dominating most of my attention is on Gabi's model, which I finished like 6 months ago. And what I'm hoping for, because part of the reason that takes a while as well is because I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Because the nature of the progress made there was like very hard progress. And when you're in one of those phases, you kind of can't talk about it, if that makes sense. Like, not that you can't talk about it for like confidentiality. It's not like that. It's more like, I have to just deal with this on my own first. Otherwise, I'm not going to solve it type thing. Like, so if I'm in the middle of some issue, like the last episode that I published about the contractor saga, like I couldn't make videos on that while it was happening, just because it would have interfered with the flow of events, if that makes sense. Like there's a degree to which when you're in a like a high pressure phase like that, where there's very low certainty and you have to do a lot of figuring out and exploration and experimenting, you kind of have to shut up and like pay attention to what's happening in front of you. And then like after that's done, it feels like then you can be awarded the luxury of talking about it. That's sort of how it feels. I feel like when I try to talk about it, like it interrupts the timeline. I don't know if that makes sense. I now that I think that probably doesn't make any sense at all, but it's like when you're in the middle of something, it's like it's too much of a distraction to constantly be worrying like showing it off, if that makes sense. Like it interferes with flow, it interferes with your mentality a lot, because then not only are you going to be busy, your mind's fully occupied with what you're doing, but also you're going to have that like, well, because you got to entertain the audience too, and a lot of what's going on most of the time is not entertaining, so it's tricky like that. So for something like that area where it was high stress, like it's not really entertaining to watch people being stressed out for like 6 months straight. Like it's not only is it not entertaining, but it's not helpful for the guy in that position to be sharing what's going on, because it's just I'm just trying to figure out the best way to like explain that. It's not like mentally helpful either, I don't think, because it actually makes it more stressful as well. So that's why for that kind of stuff, and I want to change it up a little with the next chapter or the next arc that we're in now, but during that area where I really didn't know where things were going to go, it was probably I was not fun to talk to, let's say. Like, I'm not in a mood to entertain. I'm not in the mood to like, because I don't really have much to say then either. because I'm busy working things out, and it isn't until after it's resolved that I have something to say. And then that's when it feels like that's the right time to make the videos, when I've like been through the story, I've like wrapped up the loose ends of it, and I've taken something from it, and I know what I want to say about it. But when it's happening to you, like, because that attitude of trying to pick out the good bits and the wisdom or whatever you find most interesting, like, you can't really know that until after it's over, type thing. That's sort of how it is. So with what I want to do, though, eventually, what the phase I'm working towards a day at a time, is the phase where, like, the devlogs are kind of caught up with what I'm doing currently, and the devlogs can be a bit more present focused. But the thing is, I think that can only happen if things are going well, like steadily in the present. And at the moment, they kind of are a lot more than they were back then. But I still have to, like, I have to finish telling those stories first, if that makes sense. So I still got the story of Gabi's model to do, and I've got a few stories of programming stuff, and then eventually you'll have the story on this level. I don't know if that makes sense. But then once that's all done and I've got the videos out about that, what I'm hoping is that around that time, the iteration cycle between video and, like, it'll just be like the actual edited videos can be a bit more like these streams, but more coherent, and they're less removed from the present. That's what I want to work towards. That's what I'm working towards. That's kind of how it was at the beginning of the series, when there wasn't much happening, and it was kind of like, oh, I just learned about this thing. But then when things started getting serious, and there's when things started getting really difficult, and, like, there's, like, more stuff to manage and whatever, like, when all that, especially around when we were trying to get grants and stuff, that's when it's like, okay, I need to keep my eyes on the road and, like, off YouTube for a moment, and so I don't crash the car, type thing. So I don't know if that's a better way of putting it, but yeah. So the videos there are filler arcs. Nice. I suppose, I don't know. I guess I would see these streams as, like, filler. I suppose. But it's but yeah, the main stuff, because this will all come through in a devlog at some point. The thing is that I know that my streams are very incoherent and rambly, and I know that is not gonna, the standard you need for a video is higher. So that's why I like to kind of package all of the. That's what the videos are sort of for, is like a packaging of it, compressing. It's sort of like the equivalent. I feel like the streams are kind of the equivalent of when AAA's just put uncompressed assets in the game. And for the consumer, that's bad for them, because they don't need all the uncompressed textures. They just need, whatever they need. And you notice how a lot of people complain about that in games, where it's like the game is 100 gigabytes and it doesn't need to be. That's kind of how I feel with my devlogs, is that they should be compressed, because the stuff that's actually important shouldn't take up, like, it should be condensed. If it's good stuff, if it's high quality stuff, and if it's important, I should be able to package it down, and it's still, and just get the essence rather than all the minutia, because the minutia is boring, and I don't want to bore people. I don't know, it feels like that's what I have to do. Like, it feels like it's an active service to cut, the fluff. Whereas with the streams, I think there is a lower expectation. Like, no one's going to be scrupulizing, like, oh, well, he didn't make a cut. And it's like, well, it's a live stream. You can't do that anyway. And it appeals to different people. So it's a bit different. But it's a much smaller group, which is why there's maybe, like, 100, no less than 100 of you here, versus the videos, which there are a lot more. So that's kind of the difference, which is why, yeah, for the main videos, it's they take longer. So in that sense, I do appreciate the patrons and stuff that help fund those, because it does take time, and I enjoy doing it for those people. It's fun. But I like doing them well, if that makes sense. Because that way, maybe after the games, because you might think, well, why bother? And I think what would be really cool is that when the project's finished, people can like go back in time and watch the episodes, and they won't age badly. And I think that'd be cool, because then there's like rewatch value, so that the videos, because most YouTube videos don't really have that, right? A lot of the time you watch them once and then never again, and like nobody's going to go back in a year or a week or a month even and watch them again. So that's kind of why for me that's important, that they're not badly made, so that if someone plays the game and has never heard of the devlogs and finds out that there's a devlog, they won't be completely bored if they go back and watch it, because the videos don't age that badly. So that's kind of what, I don't know, the voices tell me I got to do that, so that's what I do. Anyway, it's enough rambling about devlogs, but yeah, it's been I've been working as hard as I can on that next episode. I am hoping to have some kind of preview like real soonish for the supporters, if you really want to see how it's piecing together. I've just been kind of trying to cut fat from the voiceover. Thanks, Tomark, for the 10.
Like I saw this a few weeks ago on Twitter. A bunch of indie devs were saying that their games were smaller than the file size for the trailer for the game. I thought that was funny.
That is pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if that'll be the case for me. Well, actually, I don't know. We'll see. I don't plan on making very long trailers. I will say, because someone actually asked me recently how big my project files were. And I couldn't answer, because when I opened the folder, it spent so long calculating and I had to go. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll tell you next time. Yeah. But I will say that my footage, the project file for my devlog is way bigger than the game. I think the devlog footage is like 2 or maybe 3 terabytes by now. But the actual game is maybe 1. But there's still a lot of junk assets in there I got to clean out. And then as for the actual game build, I haven't like built it properly in a while, because I want to get the level like finished before I do that. But I think the last version that had the, it had the all the hub world stuff in it, and that was like 7 gigabytes. But that was the really unoptimized one, and there was a lot of junk mega scans crap in it. So I'm hoping that the next build I do will be smaller. And also, yeah, like I was saying a few weeks ago, like all this texture stuff I've been doing, by the way, we'll get into a bit of that next, because I'm sure that's what you want to hear about more. But the texture work I've been doing on this level is like low res, so that should help things out a lot. Because a lot of the textures and stuff for the last build I did were all like 2K and whatever. But these trims I've been doing, how big is this? It's like 512 pixels. This is like the biggest texture I've got. 512 pixels, not even 1K. It's half of a 1. No, not half. It's a fourth. Because a 1K texture would be 4 times bigger. So this is a fourth the size of 1K, an eighth the size of 2K, which is like pretty tiny. But that's all I need. So I'm pretty confident that whatever next version I do is gonna be probably one of the smallest versions, maybe ever. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully there isn't, because I don't know. Apparently Unreal puts a lot of stuff and dependencies and whatever. So I don't know. Maybe that's something I should look at some point. Make a 24K trailer so you can't fail. Yeah, I could do that also. I could make an 8K gameplay trailer. I think it's 1/6 the 16th. Oh, you could be right, actually. Look, I'm not a math guy. I don't know how to divide, so you're probably right. But yeah, Lemon Drop says never used Unreal, but using Source Engine light baking has never taken more than half an hour for highly detailed maps in Counter-Strike. Don't understand how someone with dedicated production rig could complain about baking times. Well, yeah, good point. I don't know. Maybe they don't have good rigs. That could be it. But yeah. Rashads, good to see you, man, says, how do you plan the trim sheets? Well, good question, my friend. That's what I've been figuring out this week, as it would so happen. And that's what I want to talk to you about next. So, because you might look at the level this week and think, oh, well, not much has really changed. I have actually been changing up a few things with the texture. You'll notice the floor is much darker. So here's the floor last week. Here's the floor now. I've actually changed up the contrast and values a bit. And the main challenge, because I think I said props didn't feel like the right thing to focus on yet. But so I was instead thinking about trims, because to bring it back to the initial problem with the level, it's like the general architecture itself, and what I mean by that, it isn't the details. It's more like the form of the thing. Like the way walls are shaped, like the backdrop of the backdrop. That's sort of what I'm thinking of. The entire level is a backdrop to the gameplay, but the backdrop itself, the backdrop of that is like the walls and the ceiling and the floor. And then the minutia is like the computer terminals and the chairs and what, like that's the foreground. That's what I think of foreground elements in the background. The actual background is like the walls and stuff that everything is put up against. So what I'm thinking is the background itself should not look basic. It should look simple, but not basic. And I think as I've been studying more levels, I've been studying... I think I showed you guys last week, we were looking at Sonic 06, which has amazing trim work. Sonic Heroes 2, actually. And that has more it's more primitive, but Sonic 06 hides it better. We'll get some footage of Sonic now, I guess, to show you what I mean. I was also looking at Phantasy Star. Someone mentioned that to me a few weeks ago. And because I've never heard of this before. It's some, like, I don't even know, but, like, this thumbnail, that kind of environment they have there looks sick. Was it Fantasy? It might have been Phantasy Star Universe. And what's funny is that the same people that made this is also the Sonic team, funny enough. So while they were doing Sonic 06 and all that, they were also making this, I guess, at the same time. And so that was cool. I'd never heard of that happening. But if you look at sort of the art for this game, you can see that it's kind of similar to what I was trying to do. So I wish I'd found out about this sooner, actually, because the trim work and the color scheme, like it's a similar color scheme. It's a bit warmer than what I've got, but it's the same impression as what I'm trying to do, except they've got a bit more reds and yellows in it. And I guess that's because they're using... the guys that did this probably have much better sense of color than I do. So my stuff, you'll notice, is more analogous, where I'm strictly sticking to blues and purples. Whereas you can see with these guys, they're venturing more along the color wheel with like maroons and oranges. But they still have generally the overwhelming... I think that's the difference, is that they've got like the 60-20-30 rule going on, where I think 60% of it is like cool hues, like this cool white and blue, which is sort of the stuff I've picked out for mine. But then they have the 10% of like maroon, the 30% maroon and then the 10% orange. I think that's sort of what they're doing, if I had to guess. So I've been looking at this, and I'm like, man, how do they make this look great? Like, what's the secret here? Because there's something staring me in the face about this that's beautiful. And what's really cool, this is like a PS2 game. No, wait a minute. Actually, this is an even more interesting case, because this is a cross-gen title. This was released on Xbox 360 and PS2. So it's in that weird middle ground of being next-gen, and it's like, it's high fidelity enough to fit into both, which is... I don't know a lot of games that do that, and that's really cool. So, the difference is that this has a much more... The thing I don't really like too much is that this has a very kind of Aquarius... That's the best word I can describe it with. It feels like an underwater city almost, because of the trim and details on the walls, which isn't what I want. So with these, you can see that, I don't know what it is, but the curvature of these wall trims and like the round corners and the round flowy it's wavy. That's the word I'm looking for. It's wavy. And that's cool, but it doesn't feel like what I want. But in terms of the colors, that's like, oh, that's sick. But the sort of I don't know if there's like, you can see that at the top, but at the top here they've got like this very kind of classical wavy detail trim on the roof, and these floral patterns here on the wall. Like that's probably what makes it look like Phantasy Star. I'm guessing that's the Phantasy Star signature of it has this sort of aquatic, flowy, wavy trims on things. Like you can see them here too on this escalator on the sides. It kind of looks like if King Neptune was in the future, this is where he would be hanging out type thing. Now, I know very little about what the lore or whatever of this is, so maybe it's meant to be like that. I don't know. I don't really care, honestly. I just think it looks cool. But I know that it's diverging from what I want personally. But it is cool that it's got a lot of... There is a lot here that is inspiring too. So I'm glad I was able to find out about this. Because otherwise, I don't know, I guess I never would have heard of it. I don't know what this video is, though. I just clicked on this randomly. And if they've got Saul Goodman clips in here. The UI is really sick too. But, oh, okay, so this must be... This looks like it's an older Phantasy Star game. But you can see this has a very different look, but you can start seeing the technique, right? Like now that's all that I see now. When I look at stuff like this, I see technique. So I can see here, this has a different thing. It's more square. This is actually kind of more in terms of shape. Not colors, but in terms of shape, this is kind of what I would want to do more like, where it's more angular and more boxy looking. Like they've got these sort of things on the rows and this sort of square tiles. Like this looks kind of cool. I'm going to have to keep this open because this looks sick. I literally just clicked on that like a few minutes ago. So that's really cool. I got to keep that in the vault. So in terms of what I've been trying to do, I've been trying to kind of use just looking at the Phantasy Star universe environment as a reference of like, this is an option of what you could do with the colors. But I don't think I want to go to the maroon. I don't want to touch those. I think that needs to stay with Phantasy Star. If they want to use maroon on their stuff, that's cool. But I think for me, I got to stick to the cool colors. So what I have been doing though is to bring it to trims. So I've been trying to keep looking at the shapes and stuff, looking at what I want and what I don't want, and looking at color. And I've been trying to do a more planned, deliberate trim sheet. So this is what my trim sheet was like before. And I was kind of just messing around. I was figuring it out, right? And I think there's bits in here that are salvageable. Like these square tiles, I can see where those might fit in now. I didn't know where these would go before. I just started doing them because, I was like, oh, what if I did that? I was just kind of playing with it. And then for the chrome, I'm going to keep some of these, and I think I know where they'll go. But this column I had here, I didn't really know. I couldn't find a use for that. I couldn't imagine where I'd use it. And then for these ones, I kind of struggled. These stuck out too much when I would use them. It would draw too much attention. So instead, and also I didn't know what to do with the rest of the blank space, because I had the space at the bottom, I had the space here and here, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to put here. And that's a problem. That's the blank canvas problem. It's uncertainty, and that's bad. I think I was saying last week that my job at the moment is to completely obliterate uncertainty, to obliterate ambiguity. The less ambiguity, the quicker it is to make choices, the quicker you can get on with things. So what I've now done, you can see I've actually put in labels in text, and I've actually gone in planned, because the thing is, to get back to your question, Rashad's, I know it's a bit of a roundabout thing, but when I look at environments like this, the reason I brought this up, not only to admire the aesthetics, but if you look at stuff like this long enough, you start to pick up on things, and you start to pick up on where do they use trims? Why do they use trims? When and when not do they use them? And what I've noticed, I'm trying to kind of intuit rules and make sense of it. And what I've started noticing, because this is where I've been getting stuck, there's the ambiguity of, well, how do I know how many trims I need, and how do I know where to put them? And I don't know, my solution right now is observation and just watching, filling your head with images and images and images. and just trying to notice patterns in common, trying to notice like trends. And what I notice with environments like this, I'm trying to find like a better, is there a better frame? They had this opening cutscene with this corridor that, yeah, so like this, right? What I notice is that what a lot of these have in common, and I notice this even in real life, is that they'll have trims on the walls at the bottom and usually and on the top. And then they'll have like mostly patterns, tiled patterns everywhere else. And then in some cases, if they are transitioning between different materials, like if you have a floor that's made of one material and then you have another floor pattern, you don't just put them together. They usually separate those with some kind of trim. So like with this wall, they have like this texture and then they have another panel and then they separate that with the trim. Now, as for how many of this you should do, where they have stripes going up the wall indefinitely, I don't know. I think that's kind of, you have to feel out that sort of thing. This to me feels like a bit too much for what I would want to do personally, where they've got stripes going all the way up. I don't know. I don't, that's not what I want. I want like a bit less. But you can see here even for like, and then for things like the roof, they'll have something as like a gutter or a buffer on the roof and then a row in the middle of something. And then, I don't know, those are just the things I've picked up on at least. And then they'll have some kind of trim for corridors of, no, not corridors, sorry, of like columns of some kind. So they don't use them much in this level, but there was some room that he goes in. I don't know where in the game this would be. He goes into like an apartment or something, and you see like pillars going up the walls, and the rule I've noticed for that is that they'll typically have like, I don't know, I don't have any like reference on hand to show you, but I'll just try and imagine it. Like imagine you have a room, or I could make it in trench room actually, it'll be easier to show you. So I've noticed what they'll do, at least in this game and the ones I've played, and even in like when I look around my own room, I notice the same trend, is that they'll have like separators. So I have one here for the floor that I've just got a placeholder for. So if I made this a different material on this part of the floor, you'd have a separator. But then if you have a separator on another thing like the wall, it would be a different trim. Like you don't use the one on the floor also on the wall, unless you can hide it somehow really well. And that might be by, maybe you use the same pattern, but you just change the color or whatever it is. That's, I don't know, things like that is what I'm starting to notice. So one thing I will need to do, like if I wanted some kind of separator, because that's the thing. I was trying to do this last week with my walls, and I think I've still got that version up in this level. So I tried making this sort of corridor maybe a week ago, and this didn't feel right because it felt like I was trying to make columns to like separate the wall tiles, but they felt they were attracting too much attention, even without textures on it. Like if I take that off and just go, if I make this all like one material or whatever. And if I go shade faces or whatever, like, I don't know. It was taking too much attention. It was imposing, it was drawing attention to itself, and it felt wrong. And I'm like, okay, this is too much. I've got too much. I don't know what it is that, like, they're too thick. There's too many of them. I don't know. So I kind of just started over with these ones. But what I would do now, like, even this is, like, not bad, actually. Like, just having this sort of, this color with this sort of tile. This is meant to be the floor tile actually, but it's kind of working. Weirdly enough. Like this doesn't impose itself too hard. I think the walls would need to be a bit darker maybe for that to work properly. And then, to add some like, I don't know, to add some shape variation, you could like, do like this or something. And then now, the thing I've noticed is that if you do a similar kind of thing on the floor or on the ceiling or across vertically like this, you don't want to use the same trim for both. I've just noticed, I don't know if this is like a proper rule, but that's just what I've noticed with these other environments. So that's basically what I've been building. I've been building like a library of impressions from other things and building like what are the common rules that they do? What are the invisible things that they do that are in common? And it's just stuff like this that I seem to notice. So even here, actually, what I might do is change it to maybe this text. Actually, maybe this will be the texture I end up using. I don't know. But this feels like pretty okay to me, I think. And I don't know. It's just stuff like that. And then, if they have like this ceiling bit, they do a different or whatever. Like they don't repeat the trims a lot. Like they'll have purpose trims for like columns, and then ones that go sideways, and then ones for the floor and ones for the roof. That's basically the gist of it. So I've been trying to plan out my trims similarly, where it's like, I don't know if this is exactly right, but what I do know is I know that there'll be denominations of size where I'm going to have bits that will be short and wide. I know that I've got things like that. So for instance, I've got this really thick, like how many, if I turn my grid back on, this is 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that that's going to be there. And I know that because I've chamfered it like this, there's going to be one row. There's going to need to be something that's a fourth of this that feels in the detail here. And then for other things, I've tried doing a bit. Now, at the moment, keep in mind, because what I've been mostly focusing on is not the shading and stuff. So that's why these walls look a bit better and more finished. Currently, I'm just thinking color, shape, and only that, really. So I'm not worried about... Now that I know how to shade and how to add like dodge, burn, highlights, shadows, now that I know how to do that, it's like, all right, I'm going to do that at the end and just focus on what shapes look good and make it as flat, like very low detail, flat, almost like a PowerPoint drawing. And if I can make use of those and figure out what tiles I want and what colors I want them to be and where I'm going to put them, then I'll color and shade them properly and render them. Maybe that's the better word. I'll go and render them, make them beautiful, and then I'll move on with stuff. But that's sort of how I'm thinking. So for an area like this is kind of, I was just messing around with using trims here, because I think me a few weeks ago, the mistake I would have made here is making this like the floor material. That's what I would have done a week ago. Now the problem there is that players will notice, or you guys will notice in chat. You'll probably say, "Oh, this looks, it looks like some dev has just lazily stretched the thing and they've just repeated the same material on there." And they're kind of right to point that out, because what they're noticing is a missed opportunity. That's what that represents. So if I do this instead, where it's just it's the floor, but on this wall, to like as like a platform challenge or whatever, you're gonna think that's a missed opportunity to make that different. Because if you make it different, it makes it harder to notice repetition. If that makes sense. I think there is a name for that. I don't remember what it was, but it's like the something effect, and it's got a whole wiki page on it of like noticing repetition. I don't know the name of it, but it's a thing. And you don't want people noticing that in the level. You don't want them noticing the repetition. So to break it up, I could use the wall. I could use the wall thing here too, but that's kind of also repetitive. It's just repeating the other thing now. So that's kind of, I've been thinking about in terms of purpose of where things need to go. This is sort of my thing is, all right, well, I'll have a row of trims that's this size, and then whenever it's separating into a different tile, like at the bottom, where it's then going from here to here, I'm going to then put it, there has to be a trim that separates those and compartmentalizes it, and for the top as well. And then for the edge, that definitely has to be true. I don't know why, I just know that it has to be true. It has to be like that. I don't know how to explain why that is, but it just feels right. Like if if this was part of the floor like this, it would... you notice how it's off now? Like something's not right? It's like, hold up. This is not how it's supposed to be. But if you add that little trim on the edge, it's like, aha, that's more satisfying. That my brain doesn't scream at me when that happens. So I don't know why that is, but it just feels correct. So now obviously it's very minimal. It's just literally I've just picked a color and it's flat. But if you imagine this with some actual detail, like tiles, or even like those warning stripes that you see on construction sites and stuff, like police tape or whatever, where I have like stripes, maybe that'll be the one I use here, right? I haven't figured out the detail for those yet, but I'm just figuring out what needs to be made, and where does it need to be used? That's the questions I'm asking now. So that's I've like compartmentalized this up where it's like, I know I'm probably going to need stuff that's like 16 units, which is the equivalent of one grid size in Trench Broom, which is 16 units. And then I've got slightly bigger ones of 32. And actually, I don't know, maybe I only need as small as 32. I haven't quite worked that out, actually. Because I've noticed I haven't used any of these really tiny ones. I haven't really used them much. So maybe I won't even need those. But then for everything else, it's like, I know that I'm going to need a row of something on the roof at the top of the wall or along the roof. And I know I'm going to need like, because I know I've got these panels on the walls. These are going to be the trims on the sides of the walls on the bottom. And then when they chamfer up, I'm going to have this, now that I know sort of where it needs to be used, it becomes easier to know what to put there. And then the only thing is, all right, well, what flavor and what pattern or shape could I put in that feels cool? That's when you start just going on intuition. So what I've done at the moment, I've only really put an effort to one of these because I got a bit carried away with this floor one because I was very certain that this would be it. And what I knew here is that this big, I think this is 32 pixels, this track, and I knew exactly where I would use that. And I'm like, I know that this is going to be to break up the floor with like wide areas, or they're going to go along the sides of the floor. I don't know. I just knew that was where it needed to go. So I've actually implemented that one already. So if I go to something like I've actually changed the inside of this doorway here. This used to be a different one, but I've changed it. Actually, yeah, I've got a version of that over here. It used to be this, but I don't know, man. Something felt, it was too much contrast. And every time I would run through one of these, my eyes would get sucked into the frame of this door. And that felt wrong. It was like, no, that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be noticing the door frame. And every time I'd run through these, my eyes would just get sucked into this. Like, my eyes would go to the red faces that I've just highlighted. My attention would go onto that. And it's like, that's wrong. I just don't know how to explain it, but that feels incorrect. Like, my eyes shouldn't be doing that. So when I've got something like this, though, you notice how it's less imposing? Like, there's detail there, but it doesn't completely absorb your attention. It's kind of just innocuously, humbly there, not seeking attention to itself. That felt more correct. I don't know how to explain that. And then when you look at it with the actual floor, it breaks it up, but it doesn't draw attention to itself. And that feels better. And it's like, aha, now I've got it. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of where it was like, that's how I knew that this one had a purpose, which is why I put the detail on it. And that's I'm pretty happy with that one. The challenge is for the walls and the ceiling. So I've got stuff here because I know now that the ceiling is going to have this on it. I've got this new fixture on the ceiling. The cool thing as well, I've been noticing a bunch of opportunities too. Because one insecurity, I guess you could say, or one worry I've had a lot about my levels is that the player, Gabi can run on any wall, right? And one thing I've kind of come to see is that that's a very powerful ability. And it's like, how do you make something constrained when Gabi can run on anything? Like, how do you design stuff? Because the thing with most other games is that you can design a pathway, and you get one option in the sense that if this was a normal character, your only option is to go where the floor takes you. But Gabi can go, nah, screw that, right? And that becomes a bit of a problem in terms of design because you have a lot more options, which, if used properly, is more fun, which is what I'm hoping will happen with this. Like, my whole appeal here, like the entire thing I'm doing is being able to successfully pull off where it is fun to then have this freedom. And it isn't a case where you have so much that the designer didn't know what to do with all that freedom. Because what will happen, if you aren't thinking about that, I just know this, what will happen is that the player gets bored and let down by the amount of missed opportunities you took. is sort of how I see it. Now, the cool thing is, I've noticed, as I've been building in these walls, because there's that thing of like, well, what's to stop the player from just running on every wall and like not engaging with the rest of the level? Like, if I want you to be on the floor for something, you don't have to. And you can just say, no, screw you, I'm gonna skip over that. And it's like, well, I think that's cool sometimes, but if you allow the player to do that all the time, it's gonna get kind of boring, because it's like, oh, I could skip everything and it, like with no effort, and that's kind of boring. Like, the player is going to want more of a challenge than that. They want to be pushed a bit more than just being able to skip over stuff. Like, that's fun in moderation, but you know, it's like letting a child eat whatever food they want and all they choose is ice cream. Eventually they're going to get sick of it, right? So what I'm thinking is, well, as I've been doing this geo, I figured out that there are ways to now, like, naturally create limits like that. So if I wanted to make a wall and discourage you from running on it without you noticing, all I have to do is just make the geometry of the wall more complicated. And that'll discourage you from wall running. Because what most people might think, right? Because this is what I've seen every game do. They get around this problem in the lamest way, where they just go, oh, I know. I'll make it so that she can only run on specific walls with this specific texture on it. Like, it has to have the arrows on the wall, and that's how you know that that's the wall you can wall run on. But that's kind of lame. You know, it's kind of like, oh, I'm like, the designer has me on rails, and it's really obvious. And it's kind of like, it's not letting me have as much, like, it's lame. And it's low risk. It's easy to do it like that. Fair enough. It's cheaper. But it's like, imagine if I made this level instead, and like by default, Gabi couldn't run on anything, and I had to have specific panels with arrows, like chevrons along them or something. Oh, there was some game that did this. It might have been like the new Ratchet and Clank game that they did this, where it's like, oh, you have wall running. And in my head, I'm like, oh, cool, I can run on walls. And then you're like disappointed when you could only run on the specific walls the developer wants. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just a letdown, right? So the opposite thing I'm doing is like, you can run on anything, but I'm going to make it so that some walls are like hard. Or they're just, you might as well not run on it just because of the architecture. So for instance, a way of doing that would be like making the wall shorter like this, so that you don't really get much headroom anyway. And that's what this big object here with these panels on it. That's kind of what this serves, because it's angled upwards like this. It acts as like a soft ceiling, because Gabi she doesn't do well on this. And the thing is, it looks like it makes sense. It doesn't look like an invisible barrier or something. It looks like it's supposed to be there in the architecture, but it's like a soft barrier to stop you from hitting the roof. It's like a soft push of like, to stop you from like colliding up there and like, you know, getting stuck. So that's kind of when you extrude just these little things. If this was a flat wall instead, then you can just climb up to the roof and just hit your head. And it feels, you know, it's like, oh, I shouldn't be allowed to do this type thing. But this kind of, having this here, it kind of soft keeps you in where you want. I don't know if that makes sense, right? And then if I wanted to make it more difficult, I just add more pillars. Because I've noticed that Gabi really doesn't handle well if I keep doing this to you. So if I wanted to deliberately screw with you as the designer, I just make one wall, or I put like pipes or something. Because I think someone suggested it'd be cool to have pipes in the level. And it would be cool. And I'd like to put them on the ceiling and stuff. And I've realized as well, a good use of that is that if I wanted to have a wall that I wanted you to avoid, I could just put pipes along the sides. Because Gabi she's not going to handle those pipes quite well. She can't run on pipes. So if I just chuck the entire wall with like round pipes, that's like a soft way of like, just, you know, pushing you off and going, no, you can't run on this one. You'll have to figure out another way. And I don't know, it feels more playful, if that makes sense. It feels playful, and the opposite where, oh, you can only run on these. It feels like curated in like an unplayful way, if that makes sense. It feels, I don't know. I don't have the word for it. I have images in my head of like what I want to say, but I can't I think you get what I mean, though, right? It's more like a parent, and less like, it's like, oh, I can only run on the walls that mom tells me I can run on type. That's kind of how it feels when you have the opposite thing, where you have bespoke walls that you can run on and nothing else. I don't know. It's sort of, that's sort of how it feels. It's like you're being parented through the level and not guided and played with. Because that's sort of what the design should do. The level design should be playing with you as well. I don't know, that's what it feels like it should be doing. So there's little things like that I've started noticing as well, of opportunities, of messing with the player, or challenging them, right? But not in like a lame way that's like, we're going to put an invisible box, and we're not going to telegraph it. I think that's probably a key thing as well, is that the stuff is telegraphed. So once you figure out what it means of, if there's a wall with a bunch of columns, it's like a clear indication that, okay, I know that I'm going to have a tough time with that. And the thing about all of this that is exciting is that is all capable. You're all able to do that without props, mostly. Like, you could do that without props. And that's what I feel like I have to master that before I start worrying about like computer props and decoration. I feel like that comes afterwards. That's what it feels like. So I know I said I was going to do props, but it's like, no. I think I have to get a handle on this first, because this is a key opportunity here. And if I don't look at it, I'm going to miss it, and it's going to be a huge letdown. So I know that, I don't know. So those sorts of things of being able to make the walls play with you and stuff, and hiding them and making it, because I think the trims is basically the paint job that you give them that makes it not look obvious. It makes it look like it's supposed to be like that. So that's kind of that's the game I see going on, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Maybe that's completely schizo and that means nothing, and maybe I'm overthinking it. But I don't know, man. It seems, if I can just envision the level in my head of it doing that, and it's like, yeah, I want to play that. And I'm then thinking, well, if that sounds good to me, it'll probably sound good to everyone else. So why the hell not? Like, that's something that seems important, even if it means I have to put off doing props till later. But I don't know. It seems correct. I don't know how to put it. Strawberry says patronizing. Yeah. I guess, or it's like a mix of patronizing and lazy, a little bit as well. I'm trying to think how to, because there was a specific game that did this, and it annoyed me so much. I'm pretty sure it was like, most games that do wall running do this, because I have seen some other indie games that have like, oh, you can wall run, but you can only do it on like specific walls they want you to. And a lot of the games are so forgettable, I don't even remember the names of them, but I know that like there was a big budget game that did this. What's like the Dr. Nefarious level in the new Ratchet & Clank? Because I played a little bit of this game, and I got up to the one where he's like, it's like the first level probably, and he's in the alternate timeline Dr. Nefarious city. I don't know if that's the right name. It's like very early in the game, and Ratchet gets taught. Yeah, it's this level, right? And they have wall running in it, but it's like so lame, because it's literally, there's one panel you can wall run on in the entire level, and that's all you get. And it's like, come on, man, like give me more than that. Like, but the thing is, if you give them more, it's harder to design. So I kind of get it. I'm not that mad at them. I get it, but it's a missed. Well, I mean, Ratchet has other things going for him, so he doesn't really need to give you that. The appeal for Ratchet & Clank is the weapons and leveling the weapons. So and the gold bolts and exploration. So they have a different job to do. They can't be messing. Like, honestly, I don't even know why they really added wall running at all. It doesn't need it. So I don't know. So I know that I'm not really too angry that they didn't do it, because that's not what they're meant to be doing. They have a different job. I don't even know where it is in the level. I know that they've got it in here somewhere. It's like in this last bit here. I don't know. Maybe it might not be in this. This is a gold bolt guide, I've just noticed. So it might not even be. For those that if you've played it, you'll know which part I'm talking about. Oh, here we go. No commentary, walkthrough. Yeah, it'll be in here for sure. It's like near the end, I think, of this level. And yeah, it's like it's overly curated where it's like there's only one way to get past that this part of the level. I'm just trying to find it's like in this area roughly from memory. Sorry, I'm just so obsessed over this part. I just have to yeah, here we go. Here we go, guys. Now pause. Let's see if we can do a fun game of guessing what the level designer wants us to do right now. You know what I mean? Like, let's have a look and go, all right, what can I wall run on? Let's have a look. What do you reckon, chat? What do you think the designer wants me to do next? And the yellow, it's like yellow paint syndrome. It's like that thing as well. It's like, you know, it's just kind of, and they animate it too, man. Like, it's just like they put in so much effort to make it. It's like, look, guys, you didn't have to animate the panel. Like, I know that this, like, I'm not stupid, okay? You don't need to animate this panel to get me to pay attention to that thing, okay? Like, come on, guys. It's a bit much, okay? It's a bit much. Like, we're not that stupid. So I don't know. Like, cause I never noticed this before. Maybe you guys didn't notice this. But some guy, okay, now I don't know who. I'm not in these circles. I'm not in the industry. I don't know who makes these choices. But some dude on the team of this was thinking to himself, hey, instead of making it a static panel, we need to keyframe this. And we need to add up trigger logic to this so that when the player gets near it, it animates. And we have to have this whole muddled area inside with red light in it. Some poor dude had to go and do all that so that it like does this, and then when you go near it, it like transforms. And it's like, you know, you could have just not done that. Like, I don't know, man. Is that necessary? Like, did you really, like, what is this adding? To me, this just looks like a total waste of resources of like animating the panel to do that. It doesn't serve, like, I don't know what purpose it serves apart from like, oh, look at me. And it's like, well, if it's well designed, I'll be looking at it anyway. It's already well, like, in terms of visuals, it's fine. Like, it's got big arrows on it. I'm going to pay attention to it. Don't worry. You don't need to animate it. I don't know. It just seems it doesn't seem very confident, does it? It's like, oh, well, we really aren't sure. And it's like, oh my God, like, because I see this attitude everywhere of people being like, oh, well, what does the focus group think of this? And it's like, who cares? Just have some, I don't know, have some confidence in what you're doing. Jesus Christ. So I don't know if that was what was going on here, but that's the vibe I get. That's just my intuition. That's what the voices in my head tell me what's going on, and it annoys me. Thanks, Tomok, for the 5.
But how do you feel about the wall running in Warframe?
I don't know. I haven't really played Warframe. I don't know. I did try it a long time ago, but it's not really my kind of game. I don't know. I don't really know for Warframe. I from what I remember, it's a bit more free, but I couldn't get into it because it's like a looter shooter. And I had no idea what was happening. Like, I remember trying, this was 5 years ago, so I don't know if it's still like that. But it feels like one of those Destiny 2 type games where I remember jumping in my spaceship or whatever, and you go to a level, and there's all this stuff happening. And it's like, we gotta secure the Tenno base. And it's like, I don't know what any of this means. What are you talking about? And I don't know, man. It was too lore heavy, and it felt like it's one of those games that you kind of need to be always playing to understand what's happening, and I don't have time for that. So I think I like tried it for like 10 minutes, and it was like the movement was fun, but I could tell that it wasn't for me, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I haven't really played enough of it to have a strong opinion on the wall running in the game. The movement did feel cool, from what I remember. But if they had like an offline, not live service, single player campaign version of that game, that would kind of that would be appealing to me. But I haven't seen something like that. But yeah, but it didn't feel. I remember they didn't do as much of what Ratchet and Clank are doing here with. Oh well, we gotta only let you run on this wall, and it's like if you want to run on another wall, it's like no, you're not allowed to do that, sweetie. Sorry. And it's like, well, that's kind of what I meant. Where it's like you're being helicopter parented through the level. That's sort of how it feels when I see stuff. So I don't know. I don't remember Warframe having that, but they have other issues that made me not get into it. And also, this is also at a fixed speed as well, which annoyed me, where it's like there's no physics, there's no anything. It's all like you get on it, it starts the wall running state, and even if you approach it at the slowest speed, you'll always go the exact same trajectory, the same speed every time. Which, fair enough, it's way easier to program it like that compared to what I did, because what I did was hell. Oh my god. But but again, for Ratchet and Clank, like, I don't know why you could have done that level without the warning parts. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference. It's not meant to be a warning game, so I forgive it. But yeah. A place where a grind rail. Yeah, because Ratchet and Clank does grind rails, and they have really fun grinding segments where you are in control and you have to dodge stuff and shoot at things. That works really well. But like, because that wall run, it only lasted like a second. Like, it was only 1 second long. Not even. You run for like a meter and you jump off immediately. And it's like, if I just had the heli pack, I could have solved this problem. Like, why did they have to make an entire new mechanic just to make something I could have done with the helipack? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what purpose is this serving? Or is this just, oh, well, we have to add... we got to add one new mechanic to put in the trailer so that people think this is new. What will it be? Oh, well, Warning's popular. We'll just chuck that in. I don't know. That's sort of how it feels. It doesn't really feel like it serves a purpose. But on the other hand, if you've got what I'm doing, where it's built around wall running, you get more... I mean, it's harder, right? Like, now you have other problems of... Now the player can run on everything. Now, then what are you going to do? And that's sort of a different... So I've chosen those problems instead. But I also don't have a weapon system or leveling, or I don't have any of that stuff. So it's a different... I guess that's what makes games different from each other, is what challenges they choose to take on, right? That's sort of how it feels. But yeah. Platinum Fox says, I tried it for 10 and multiplayer mission crashed on me. Oh, for Warframe. First year of release. I'm sure it's okay now. Oh, I'm assuming it's about Warframe. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It feels like the genre of game. It's meant to be like one of those games that life, I feel like, where it's like you're always online, you got to do your dailies or whatever. And I just don't have time, dude. Like, any game that has that, you got to do your daily challenges, it's just instant like, no, I don't. I don't have to do your challenges, my friend. So that's kind of how it is for me, because I used to get warped into these sorts of games that had these... The thing, I remember Apex had this sort of thing, where it's a fun game, but they stuff it with all this, you got to do your dailies. And I'm like, no, I just want to play this every few months when I feel like it, and I don't want the game to change every time. That's all I want. But no, nobody does that anymore for whatever reason. So, I don't know, it's whatever. I guess maybe I am Unk status after all, guys. Maybe I am just old. I don't know. JK says Warframe is not the most friendly. Yeah, it's not for me. That's it's probably not for me anyway. And it's not... I could tell that the game wasn't welcoming me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is for other people. It's not for me. Admiral says I prefer games I can pick up and drop when... Yeah, like that's my style. I'm a casual, okay? I'm a filthy casual. I don't want to commit anything to most games because I have better stuff to be doing, frankly. So I want to be able to just... When I am bored and I really cannot be bothered to work on anything, I want to be able to just sit down and get into something quickly and, like... get bored. I want to be able to play it for like 2 hours and then feel recharged enough to get back to work. That's what I want. I don't want some game that's gonna like, oh, well, if you want to have fun, you got to do homework You gotta kill 5 enemies with headshots in the worst in this map that you don't like, or whatever. All this homework. Like, no. I don't. You haven't earned that from me. Like, no, I'm not doing it. Because that, like, I don't know. I guess it appeals to some people, but it just feels like such a time waste. I don't know how to put it. Like, no, I'm not doing it. Even thinking about it, it makes me angry thinking about it. So I'm going to stop thinking about it now. If you want a little casual game, I don't know. I don't really like online games personally, because online games are, I don't know how to put it. They're social, and the appeal I've noticed is that you play it with your buddies or you play it with a clan. And I tried getting into stuff like that like years ago, and I found very quickly that that is not me. You know, no, it's not for me. I like a game where I have to not worry about what anyone's doing, or I can just shut up and just think, and I don't have to coordinate with a clan or a team or whatever. I don't. It's not for me, that sort of stuff. I tried it, you know, I tried playing a bit of Overwatch back in the day in these team-based games, and it's too exhausting, man. I just can't handle it. Dealing with all these other players. No, that's why I like my single-player stuff. That's why Project Feline's single-player, because this is the kind of game I would want to unwind to. That's kind of the point, is that, you know, this is the sort of game, because ultimately the game I'd want to play is this game, but it doesn't exist yet, so I have to make it. And in this one, it's more, it's because I think the appeal with these sorts of Warframe and EVE Online or whatever is that you're competing against other people or something, and and you're playing with your friends. That's sort of the appeal. For me, I don't care. For me, it's about I'm competing with me. And am I beating myself? That's what I want. So that's why for me, the games that I still play are all like old platformers that have some kind of scoring system to them, where I'm like competing against myself, of like, can I do this better? That's sort of what I like. And that's kind of the same attitude I take to my work, which is probably, I don't know, there's probably some reason I enjoy that. But when it comes to like anything multiplayer, the reward incentive structure is not that's not the point of those games. It's more of a social experience, and social experiences are exhausting for me. I can't do it. So I know it might be surprising. I know I stream and I spend hours yapping, but I'm actually kind of I don't like talking that much in real life, or when I'm not streaming. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm actually, my ideal lifestyle is being Luke Skywalker on his island. That's my heaven. Okay, that's where I want to be. I just want to be there, getting like the blue milk, not talking to anybody, just minding my own business. That's what I like doing. But you know, no one ever hears about your game if you do that. So yeah. Anyway, so on the topic of, I think that was kind of most of my thoughts and stuff in terms of progress on trims. To go back to that question I was answering about how it is that what I'm doing with it. So yeah, it's kind of just noticing patterns, thinking about, oh, I think I'm going to need this, whereas before it was just kind of random. And now it's just filling in the gaps. So that's what I'm going to be spending probably this afternoon on, is filling in the gaps of not really detail, but more shape, of knowing what shape tiles to put and what is going to fit together. I think I need to have some kind of chrome trim in here somewhere. I don't know where it's going to belong yet, but I know that I want to use chrome on separators between tiles and doorways, and maybe on the bottoms of walls. I know that's where I want to use them. But at the moment, I'm just focusing on the color impression and stuff. And I'm hopeful that once that's sort of there, everything is just going to start making sense. You know, like once I have that figured out and in place and I composite it together and I have a hallway that is fully rendered and there's, you know, structure to it, I don't know. It feels like I'll know then. I'll have more certainty then, or what's going to come next. So that's what I feel like is going to happen. So it's just my next focus is just going to be a focus of like it's going to be a game of picking, because the only thing I got to make sure of is that if I just got to make sure I don't pick the wrong choices. So for things like this wall, even, I can, now that I've got these trims here, I can see that this wall needs to be adjusted because it does have these sort of horizontal pieces, and this horizontal thing should be a trim instead. This shouldn't be part of the wall. So I'm going to be going and adjusting that sort of thing, making the walls less claustrophobic looking, toning down the highlights on them a little because I know that they're a bit imposing. There is something I wanted to say about design as well. That I was looking at. There's two more things on stream I got to get through. There's some stuff about design, and then there's some housekeeping stuff we'll get to at the end. But for design, because another thing that's been happening in the background of all of this, because there's a game going on, and I'm not talking about Project Feline, the game. I'm talking about designing is a game. And that's probably why I don't play a lot of games now, actually. Like, when I think about these things like Warframe, EVE Online, whatever, when I think about those things, because to me, they don't interest me because the games I'm playing are kind of like this stuff of like, how do I make appealing corridors? How do I draw your focus? How do I pick the right colors? Like, that to me, those are the games I play. Like, that's, it is kind of like a game, and you win the victory state. You win the game by doing it properly, and that's kind of how I see it. So that's why a lot of these other things like play 5 matches of capture the flag and get 2 headshots, like that has to be the lamest way to spend time. When the game I could be playing is picking the right shade of blue for the floor and doing that actually properly and not messing it up. Like, I don't know, that to me sounds more fun, so that's what I like to spend time on instead. So in that regard, because there's some things I've picked up on that are going on with this whole thing that you might not notice straight away. And I hinted at this earlier when I was talking to my AAA artist friend about lighting. And she was talking about how she had done the lighting for the scene. And I tried to, because the thing is, because I looked at it and I was trying to actually look at it seriously, thinking of like, I want to say what my thoughts are on this so that she knows that like she's done a good job or whatever. Because, whenever you share work with people, you kind of want, like, when I share stuff with people, I like them to tell me what they think of it, honestly, even if it's, like, terrible. So I was trying to think of what to say, but it was so subtle that I couldn't, like, say anything. I was like, look, I don't know what it is, but I know that it's sublime, and I can't explain how. But it is unimposing and, well, it's done well, but it is done so well that I can't tell you why. And I think that's sort of, to me, that's sort of like, oh, that's the level she's on, where it's like, it's so invisible that you don't notice that it's good. And I've been trying to think more about what that actually means, seriously. And it's on my phone, because I was talking to my dad about this as well, right? And this is going to sound like a weird roundabout story, but this ties into it. Okay, this is relevant. So some of you might remember a lot of devlogs ago, because every so often, because my dad's a bit of a weird guy. He's kind of he has a lot of interests. Maybe I take after him in that way. And I remember when I was doing Gabi's physics, because he's a physicist and he's like done research, published things on it. And I remember I turned to him for some assistance on the equation of like how to calculate friction or something, because I had no clue what I was doing. And then he's helped me a bit with some business stuff as well. And I was telling him about this stuff because I don't know. He was like asking me, oh, how's stuff going? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm like kind of hung up on design stuff right now. And the thing is that he also, in addition to like physics and stuff, he's really into like 1960s car design, or like 20th century car design more broadly. And he's in this whole, there's like a whole rabbit hole to it. There's like a whole community of people that like talks about this stuff. There's all this drama with like archiving, whatever. Like it's a whole thing. And I hear about it from time to time. And I remember when I was like 12, I didn't get it at all. I was like, why the hell? Like, it's a car. Who cares? Like, why is it? Who cares about cars from 50 years ago, right? Like, what's the big deal? But over time, slowly, I've been starting to understand what he sees in these old cars. And I know this sounds like a massive tangent, but trust me, this is related, okay? So you guys know Mr. Bean? You like the comedy show? Like, what's the car that Mr. Bean drives? Like this car, right? So there's like a whole lore and history with this type of car and the company that makes this car. This is like a classic car, right? This is like my dad's favorite car. He owns, I think his dad bought one of these back in the 1960s. And I think he still owns it somewhere. But it's like a classic car. They used to make these in Australia, I think. And I remember when my dad was a kid, his dream job was to like get a job at the car factory making these. But then there was a whole thing where all the companies shut down, the industry collapsed, and now nobody makes cars here anymore. Kind of like the game industry, weirdly enough. The game industry kind of went through its own thing here, where we had like Rockstar and whatever, and then they all just disappeared. Basically the same thing. And now with cars, he said something, because he wrote a book about car design like a few years ago, and I designed the cover for it. And he co-authored this with this other guy that was actually involved in designing these. And this is where it gets relevant. And he says something about I'm going to read it because he has this quote that's like so cool about car design. And now I'm going to show there's like an ugly Ford car I'm going to use as an example. It's like one of the ugliest cars ever. And it's the specific model of Ford that they made that had, it was, I don't know the name of it, but it had the ugliest grille you could ever imagine. It wasn't any of these though. Ugliest Ford. And it was made, I don't know, it was like a huge deal apparently. And it was like the laughing stock of the industry for a while. I don't remember the name of it, but it was named after some guy at the Ford company or whatever. You know what? There's a better because I don't know the name of it, but there is a car I do know that fits this. Some of you might know this car as well. This is the Walter White Breaking Bad car. This works though. This is an example. So I'm going to have this image on screen. I'm going to read you this little excerpt about design because I thought it was just brilliant. And I know it's about cars, but this applies to level design too, okay? And I know this sounds crazy, but what this guy said that co-authored this book, he says, first impressions do count in most cases. The first impression for a motor vehicle is a visual one. This precise moment when a person sees a product for the first time initiates a very complex association between product and person. And it's that magic word again that I've kept ranting about, this magic word for the last 10 streams. Actually, can you guys remember the word? I said the word in the sentence. Have you guys been paying attention? Do you know the magic word that I'm referring to? I'm going to see if chat can guess. What's the magic word? That car is great. Haven't seen it since it came. Yeah. Impressions. That's right, Tomok. It's that magic word. It's impression. Because I know for me, I keep saying with the level, because I don't know, at least the 15-year veteran I worked on with the old level, when I look at this stuff now, I don't think he had any clue of what any of this meant. I think he really didn't know anything about design at all in retrospect. Because if you did know that, you'd be thinking not about how many stripes I can put on the floor. You'd be thinking like flashbanging yourself, looking at it, blinking, shutting your eyes and thinking, did that one frame of what I saw look good? That's sort of what an impression is. And when you see cars in public, that's really all you get most of the time. Just like when you see games on Twitter, it's kind of the same deal. And the reason this is a big deal with cars, I've noticed, is that when you're out and around, you only really see cars for a brief moment. You see them drive past you in a second. You get 1 second to have an impression about them. And the way I see it is that Twitter is like the highway. It's the equivalent for games of when you see a game of like a screenshot Saturday. Oh, check out my indie game. When you have like a gameplay GIF or whatever, it's the same thing as like driving past a car on a busy highway. Because Twitter is a busy highway. We all know that. It's a busy highway. And there's going to be 10 other million cars in that timeline. And you want to be the car that people notice, but not in this way. You don't want to be the car that people notice and go, that is the ugliest thing I've seen. No. That's not what you want. You want to be noticed and remembered for the right reason. And this to me is seriously important, because you might look at all this design. You might look at, why is he obsessing over the trims and the colors on the floor? Who cares? Like, what? Well, just go to the Unreal Marketplace. And like, no. Like, if that's you right now and you're like having a tantrum over like, oh, why is he spending so much time on this detail? Like, the reason that's important is because the people that don't think about that get not noticed on the highway. And then they turn into the people you see on Reddit Indie Dev going, I spent 5 years on my game and no one bought it. I think it's so over. It's the freaking Denethor attitude from Lord of the Rings, where it's like, oh, okay, it's just such a cutthroat industry, man. It's like, oh, no one should ever do this. It's so hard. I should have just gotten a regular job. Like, that's what you end up... That's going to be you if you don't think about this stuff. It's the people that don't think about it. They don't try. They don't even realize they're supposed to be thinking about it. And they spend all this time and they think, man, I should have just spent 1 month on my game instead of 5 years or whatever it is. The thing is that doesn't actually solve it. The problem isn't to like lament over sunk costs and think, man, if I just put in less, if I just wasted less of my life, it wouldn't have been as bad. And it's like, no, it's just you weren't paying attention. That's what's going on. So that's why for me this is so important that I get this right, is because I know that if I don't do it, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be one of those miserable, I'm going to be Denethor. The kingdom has fallen. My line has ended. Like, that's going to be me I'm going to be a complete doomer. I'm going to have the worst attitude if I let myself ignore this. Okay, I know that's what's going to happen. It's going to, and you don't want to be, that's hell. You don't want to be there. So anyway, with the caster, there's more to it about the impression, because this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to bring up the picture of I'm going to bring up a picture of this car again, and I'm going to read this, and you're going to start noticing stuff about this car. So this, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. David Bentley wrote this. Oh, we got a donation. Thanks, Tomuk, for the 10.
I thought it was interesting that when I ran across your game, that it looked like you were missing animation frames.
Well, yeah. Now, I don't know when you would have run across it. If it was 2 years ago, then maybe you would have noticed it for the wrong reason. But if you're noticing the current gameplay of it, because a lot of people will look at it and go, why is he doing this animation style? But that's part of the reason, is that, at least I hope I'm doing it better now, at least. I don't think I quite nailed it the first time. Because all the stuff I'm talking about, by the way, what you've talked about with anime, it applies there too. It applies to the animations, it applies to the model, it applies to everything. And when you look at gameplay like this, to answer you, to hit back on that, I guess, is that I am hoping that you notice it and are delighted, which I'm hoping you were. I hope you were noticing it for the right reasons. I'm hoping that you notice this and go, whoa, that's interesting. Like, it looks like a cartoon. Like, that's when Bentley here says, the first impression they get is a visual one and initiates a complex association between the product and the person. That's kind of what I'm trying to do there. So thanks for noticing that. And what you'll see is that you'll see the game on Twitter and that's probably, I mean, I'm guessing if you didn't notice it, you wouldn't be here, right? You probably wouldn't be in this chat right now if you didn't notice that. So that's kind of, a cosmic sort of way. That's kind of why I think this stuff matters so much. And this applies to just beyond level design and beyond cars and beyond whatever. It's literally imbued in the fabric of everything. That, and this is part of what's made this video about Gabi's model hard to do as well, because I'm trying to work these ideas into it, but they're so big picture that it imbues everywhere. But yeah, thanks for the 10. I want to keep reading this to you though, from David Bentley. Now, I don't know David Bentley. My dad knows him. But supposedly he was really involved in like the Australian or British car industry. One of the two, I can't remember. But he was like designing cars and stuff. Like, and that's how you know that this guy knows the stuff, because he was designing cars in like the 20th century, back when they used to make good, not this stuff. This is back when they were making good cars, like classic British cars. So this is what I'm about to finish reading you is the opinions of people that designed classic cars. So I have a good sense that they're onto something. Like if this is how people think that design stuff like this, then it's probably the right thing, you know? If it's people designing stuff like this, it's probably reasonable. It's probably pretty well thought out, because these cars go for a lot of money now, right? Like, these are valuable. This is like, you know, these are artifacts of history almost. So that's, I don't know. I just feel like there's something correct about it if this is the result of that attitude in cars. And I guess what I'm trying to do is sort of the equivalent of that in an indie game. So anyway, I'll read the rest of this because it's very interesting. This excerpt says, the reason some cars impart total impressions, while so here's the thing, to explain. So the thing with impressions is that there are two types. Some will leave total impressions, while others leave feature impressions. And we'll get into what that means. So the quote says, the reason some cars impart total impressions while others leave feature impressions results from the degree of visual harmony achieved. Visual harmony means there is an aesthetic association between various visual elements of the car, in the same way that there are engineering association between mechanical elements. Just as there is a relationship between the engine performance and suspension, so is there one between the shape of the front fender and that of the rear lamps. A mechanical mismatch becomes apparent by feel when driving. An aesthetic fault is apparent visually. Good mechanical association results in a feeling of unity, and good aesthetic association produces visual harmony. So, I mean, maybe you can already start to see what I mean when I'm here, like, obsessively talking about the colors of trims and whatever. You can kind of start to see how that translates, right? Because there's mechanical harmony in other senses. In my case, I've got the game design and the mechanics. That's kind of my equivalent of the mechanical harmony of, is Gabi fun to control? Does her movement feel satisfying? And then the aesthetic harmony, which is equally important, is because no one is going to get to experience the mechanical harmony if it isn't appealing. Like, if they don't feel an urge to even buy the game, they're never going to get to actually playing it and experiencing mechanical harmony at all. So that's kind of why this visual harmony, because in a way, it also communicates something too, I think, where someone that is capable of mechanical harmony should be equally capable of aesthetic harmony, because the attitude that leads to both is the same attitude. And when there's like the guy says, when there's a mismatch, it undermines harmony, and it kind of sticks out. And that's kind of what he means by total feature impression. When there's a feature impression, that's a feature that's sticking out. And when something sticks out, what does that actually mean? It means that it's discordant with the harmony of the thing. And that might sound kind of obvious, but when you say it like that, I don't know, there's something clicked in my head when he said that. And I was like, oh. And it's like, if anything sticks out, it means by definition, it's discordant. It means it's disharmonious, which means that it's probably ugly if it's doing that. And if you want to see what I mean, like, this is what we mean by that, right? Is that the reason this is the Walter White car, and the thing that's funny is that the Breaking Bad people, they picked this car specifically on purpose as Walter White's car because it's very ugly. It's very discordant, and it leaves a feature impression. What's the feature impression here when you look at this? What's the thing that sticks out to you? Well, to me, it's the fact that it looks like it's two cars fused into one. Like, there's like a second row of eyes, like a spider. And my entire attention is being warped into the front lights. Like when the guy says here, artistic harmony, aesthetic harmony, this is not harmonious. But when you look at a car like this is not harmony. Your entire eye is being sucked into the ugly, the second set of eyes on the top here for no reason. Like, that's sort of what he means. That's a feature impression. I'll keep reading. There's a bit more to it. Cars which leave a... Did I read this part already? I think I might have. Oh, no, I didn't read this part. Cars which leave a total impression mostly have a look of professionalism. While professional styling strives for aesthetic harmony without fashion, commercial styling tends to display pronounced individual features at the expense of overall harmony. And that's so true in like everything, isn't it? Think about every car that feature has stuck out at you, or every game. We'll bring this back to games, because maybe you guys don't look at cars. I mean, I don't look at cars a lot, but I can kind of see what he means. But if you're looking at Steam... I don't know. Well, should we look at Steam? Let's have a look at what's on Steam. Let's look at the Steam store and let's see where we can apply this. Okay. Now, if we look at the front page, we're probably only going to see the good stuff because that's what gets put to the front. But if we go to like new and I don't know where to find the new stuff, like brand new and trending. I don't even know because they've changed the website so much. I don't know where do I find like upcoming games, like new like stuff that comes out that isn't featured. Where do I find that? I don't want the top. I want just the bottom. That's what I want. If we go to like don't want top sellers. New releases? I don't know, maybe this is what I want. Just whatever's coming out today. Let's see what's coming out today and see if we can notice things about what was it? Let me read that again. It was total impressions have a look of professionalism. Professional styling strives for harmony. Commercial styling displays pronounced individual features. And for some reason, it's not loading the page anymore. But if you guys look on Steam, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you look at games that are unappealing, you will notice this everywhere. It's the equivalent of the Pontiac Aztec. When you have an ugly... This is like most indie games fall into this category, where you look at a screenshot and they have a pronounced feature. That's what makes it look like an indie game. I mean, you guys have probably thought that before. You know, you look at some stuff and it's like, this looks like an indie game, and you can't quite explain why it looks like an indie game. It's because it lacks professionalism, harmony, and it's one thing sticking out. And that's sort of what... I keep bringing up this picture because this is just such a great example of I think the equivalent I've noticed in games is like the overuse of neon everywhere. I've noticed that neon... People that get obsessed with cyberpunk aesthetics, steampunk and cyberpunk and neon, they tend to do this. Indie game, like you search indie game cyberpunk or something, you'll start seeing this. Let's see. Like, I don't know, maybe stuff like this. I don't know. It's hard to quite... I've seen worse than this, though. These aren't actually too bad, but I have seen stuff that's much worse. Or like something like, this is kind of this is sort of it, right? Where it's kind of, like the windows are just sticking out so much. Like that's kind of the equivalent in games of the Pontiac Aztec, where it's like, why are the windows orange? Why are they glowing? And why are they such stark primary colors? Like it's that kind of stuff, right? And there's one more little paragraph here I'll read. As with any art form, the styling is an art form. I butchered that. As with any art form, and styling is an art form, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But when fashion is present in a particular art from its field of public Sorry, I butchered that as well. When fashion is present in a particular art form, its field of public acceptance narrows. This is because in promoting the goods, you are saying to the public, here is my interpretation of a particular fashion trend. I hope it coincides with yours so that you will buy my goods. Thus, for those people who don't happen to like the fashion, may be eliminated as potential customers. And that is a kind of heavy paragraph I've had to sit on for a while. I still don't quite fully. I need to sit on it longer because I know that there's more to it than that. But I think what it's kind of saying is that if you're only kind of like, my interpretation is that if you're only relying on feature impressions for things, where you're gonna have something that sticks out like a sore thumb, and you're trying to pass it off as fashion, which I do see. And if that fashion is not like a timeless kind of fashion, because a lot of fashion goes out of style. And if it goes out of style, you're basically limiting the appeal of your game, because the only people that are going to like it are the people that agree with your interpretation of the fashion trend, or whatever you want to call it. That's sort of what my takeaway was. But I know that, I don't know, I need to read that to myself a bit more. There's one more paragraph here too, that this was sort of one of my favorite ones. And it says, a similar philosophy can be applied to cars which have aesthetic harmony and those which exhibit some distinctive feature. Like these. When people see a car because of some specific feature, and not because of its total appearance, they react towards or against the whole car in terms of that feature. They may not, in fact, even see the feature, but they feel there is something about the whole car which just doesn't seem right. What styling has done then is to create a feeling of uncertainty in the mind of the potential customer, an uncertainty which may cause him to turn to another car when he feels more at ease. Now, like, that is just so true, isn't it, right? That is, like, I'm trying to get Steam to work. I don't know why, but the Steam... let me type in the URL again. Because isn't that so true? Like, oh my god, what is this? No, this isn't... This is Steam Power. I want Steam Powered. That's what I want. Like, I don't know if it's gonna... Because it didn't load last time. I want to try this again. Because you will see this. If we go to the new and trending new releases from today, you will probably see this. Like, this will be everywhere. And there's a few more sentences. I don't know why this is not loading for the life of me. Okay, well, that you guys can look at this on your computers, because for some reason the new and trending on Steam is not loading. But there was one more sentence here, I forgot. So yeah, they'll turn to another car where they're more at ease. This is why it is more important to achieve high degree of aesthetic harmony in commercially styled cars. Now, I know that that's like a huge roundabout topic about cars, and maybe some of you don't care about cars, that's fine. But you can... This stuff is happening everywhere, all the time. And that's what is so cool about this stuff. So I don't know, I thought that was really interesting. So, and it's like this is kind of this is the game I'm playing with this sort of level. This is what's actually happening. Like, all the stuff about trims and textures and hand painting and Photoshop and level, like, that's whatever. That's like the surface stuff. The real game that's going on is making something that is at ease, that leaves a total emotional impression on the customer, if you want to, or the player, or whatever you want to use. On you, I'm gonna say on you, because I want you guys playing this. So I'm gonna use the second person here. So that's the game I'm playing, is to leave a total emotional impression on you that puts you at ease, and that doesn't put you off with the weird vibes or with something discordant or some feature. Now, because he said there was a specific line in there that I thought was so cool about, if there's one thing that sticks out, like this is why I keep bringing up this car again. If there's one thing that sticks out, you notice how you ignore the rest of the car? Do you notice that? Because your entire attention is dominated by the ugly headlights, and all of a sudden the rest of the car completely becomes invisible. Even if there's stuff done well, even if the rest of the car is fine, even if the windows are fine, or the mirror, or whatever, even if all of this is actually decent, you will not notice, because your entire attention is drawn to the layered headlights, and it puts you off so much that you will if you're buying a car, you're not buying this one because it puts you at ease. It doesn't put you at ease. You're going to go look at the next car next to it that does put you at ease, and you're going to buy that one. So that's why this stuff matters so much to me. And I've just noticed a thing where a lot of people on like our game dev that do these post-mortems on their games and they cry about, oh, no one bought my game, it's usually because they haven't thought remotely about this stuff at all. And it's just a pattern I've noticed every time I see someone whinging about my game didn't sell. When you look at the Steam page, it's always ugly. Every time. It's always obvious. And it's like, yeah, of course no one. Like, it's like the equivalent of looking at this. It always looks like this. And it's like, well, what did you think was going to happen? And the thing is, they aren't thinking about it. They just think, oh, well, if I add neon everywhere, it's gonna be like Cyberpunk and people will buy it. It's like, no, dude. It's leaving a feature impression that's putting people off. And that's why no one's buying it. That's why even when you post it on Twitter, it gets 3 likes because it's putting people off. And you don't even notice that it's putting people off because you're not thinking about it. That's the game. That's the real meta game that's happening. And that's where artistry, aesthetics, craftsmanship, that's where all of that starts to matter. The thing is, I think a lot of people misconstrue art or whatever with, I need to make everything high fidelity in 4K. And then those people will say, well, you don't need to make 4K textures to make a good game. And then they turn it into a whole thing of, do graphics matter in video games, which is the wrong question. Of course they matter. It's just that there are people that I've noticed that narrow themselves into thinking that high fidelity graphics is all that matters, which isn't, that's not really true. What really matters is graphics that leave a harmonious overall impression. That's kind of what I think anyway. So that's why, I don't know, that's kind of the adventure I've been on making this level. And Gabi's model, the same rules apply there as well. It's the quest to leave a harmonious, because what is it? The guy said harmony leaves the impression of professionalism, right? And that's important to have, I think. That's kind of how I want people to see it. Because no one, I mean, if you think it's kind of like buying a car. Are you going to buy a car that looks like it was made by an amateur? Probably not, right? So that's kind of, I don't know, to me, that's why that matters so much and why I get so obsessed about it. And it's been fun. Like, while it's more work, because I've had to remake this whole level, and I'm not complaining, I've enjoyed it. It's not the lazy way of just, doing the first pass of something. So while it is more work to do it like that, it feels like the right game. It's like, this is the game I got to be playing. The game is achieve artistic harmony, achieve the overall impression that gives an emotion. Because the guy said the first sentence was like, it leaves an emotional impression, like an instant emotional impression on people, and that's your weapon when you're a guy trying to make something. That's your vector of attack, so to speak. That's your in. That's your only in that you get. That's the only in I get. If I want any of you playing this, that's the only in I get is your instant first impression. So I got to make it count. Anyway, what is the book again? I think if I remember, because my dad just sent me this, and I think it was from his. I think it was from his book. I don't know where in the book it is because he took out the bit that he wanted me to read and sent it on its own. I think it's called Secrets of Style. I'm going to try and find it.
I think the best new game I have played this year is Blade Chimera. That game might be 450p at max.
450p. Is that like the resolution? That's cool. I don't know that one, Blade. Thanks for the 10, by the way. What was it called? Blade Chimera. Thanks so much for the support, Tomark. You've been a real one. Oh, hold on. Let's have a now. Okay. Well, this is the first time I'm seeing this. Let's see if I can analyze what my feature impression of this is, just by looking at this. What my total impression is. So this doesn't really seem like my kind of game because I don't play a lot of 2D scrollers, but I can. This has it. I don't know how to explain it, but the this environment goes. I don't know about the screenshots. I'm not sure about the choice of screenshots with this big thing. I'm not so sure about that. But the backdrops, they look good. They feel, I don't know. I see, that's the thing, because it's so vague. It's subconscious, but I don't feel disgusted. I don't feel this sense of, ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna go look at the next game on my discovery queue and see if that one makes me feel more like, because that's what you're fighting against, right? But this is kind of, I like this green. I like the patterns. Doesn't look like my kind of jam personally, but it's cool. So 450p. I mean, yeah, it does look very low fidelity, but yeah, that's because I remember there was maybe this is still happening, but I remember there being a phase of people getting kind of fatigued of pixel art games, and I kind of fell into that as well, because I used to get the two confused as well. This is how I know this is a thing, because I used to be in that crowd of pixel art cringe. But no, this is because I think the thing I've the phenomenon that I think I was observing with pixel art that this doesn't fall into. This is a good exception, because I think what happens is, because the bar of entry to pixel art is so low, because it's so easy and you can just use Aspirite or something, you don't have to learn 3D or anything. It's so simple, and you can use Game Maker. It's really, really easy to do that. And I think because of that, when the 2010s started, a lot of people started making pixel art games, and a lot of those people weren't thinking about artistic harmony. So I think it gave pixel art games in general a bad reputation, because most of them were not harmonious. And pixel art became synonymous with bad graphics. But I think people confused that with, oh, it's bad because it's low fidelity, which wasn't actually the reason. I think the actual reason was because most of the people doing them were amateurs that didn't know how to design things. And they got mixed together. But this is like low fidelity, but done right. Like, if every pixel art game was like this, that would not have happened. It's a consequence of the means of creating pixel art being lower than the means of 3D, because 3D is just so complicated in comparison. I think that, if I had to guess, that's probably what was happening. But this does look very stylish, very cool. Thanks for the 10. But yeah, sometimes I think to myself, man, I could have saved myself so much effort if I just made a pixel art game. I do think that to myself sometimes, not gonna lie. But that's very... like, it looks professional, like the banner artwork in particular, it looks quite professional too. But my sort of drive is, what if, because I was saying last week, because the actual cover artwork is definitely higher fidelity than the gameplay. So the reason why what I'm trying to do is so complicated is that I'm basically trying to make the actual in-game art look like the impression on the banner, which is really difficult, as it would turn out. But yeah, but that's the difference here. Like, that sort of the artistic stuff that's going on here. That's why this game has 700 reviews and not 10 like most games. That's why this gets 700 reviews, very positive. And this is really good, actually. This came out recently too. So that amount in like 2 months, this probably made a lot of money. Like, this is good. And it had it also had some help too, from the looks of it. These guys definitely look like they know what they're doing. So I mean, these guys, hell, they have it on lock probably more than I do. But that's cool. And that's kind of the thing I've loved learning about this sort of design, is that, because I used to not really at all appreciate pixel art. Like, I would avoid it. But now that I know what's actually happening, I feel like it's made me less bitter about pixel art, which is nice. I play a Tuhu game made by those guys. I've heard of this word. I've heard people mention that before. I don't know if it's some kind of IP or something, but people have been telling me about that as well. I just haven't really checked it out. But yeah. Oh, to answer the question, what was the book? Sorry, I got a bit distracted. Secrets of Style. Let's see if I can find it, actually, on Google. Oh, here it shows up. Hey. So yeah, this was, I haven't read the whole book. I just designed the cover. That's all I did. But that quote was from David Bentley, and they had there's 2 other guys my dad also worked with for this. But yeah, so in retrospect, because I didn't know any of this when I was designing, because that's how I know that he does this, because whenever he writes a new book, he's like, hey, I have a new book coming out, can you design the cover? I'm like, yeah. And that's how I know that when stuff's happening. But because I didn't know, ironically, he did, because I didn't really know any of that stuff when I was designing the covers. I'm just thinking about what looks cool. So if I had to go back and design this cover again, knowing what I know now, I probably would have picked different choices. I guess it's not so bad, though. The actual car, though, that's on the cover, I can now see that this is really good. Like, driving this would be sick, because it has harmony, you know? But that's the book this excerpt is from. And, yeah, I think, it's out of print. Oh, no. I'm gonna have to hit him up and say, hey, you gotta print more of these. But, yeah. So that's another bit of cool Cripps family lore, I guess. But yeah, it turns out it's handy to know people that love that do any kind of design, even if it's not game design. If you know people that design cars or whatever it is, it's all connected. It's a big circle of life, and it's really cool. It's very synchronous, which is just so beautiful and cool, and I like that. That's kind of how I know that this thing I'm trying to solve is right, because there's just so much synchronicity with other fields and other beautiful things, like those beautiful cars, or beautiful games on Steam, or beautiful appliances, like even this microphone. This is a well-designed microphone. It has a nice impression, and it probably adheres to a lot of the same rules. Or even like a computer, or like the iMac, or whatever. You can think of whatever you want, and anything that makes you, that you look at, and you go, man, I'm so glad to be alive with eyes that I can see this thing. If there's anything that you've ever seen that looks like that, it probably follows those rules, and it's playing that game, and it's winning. That's why it gives you that reaction, and it stays in your memory. And I don't know, man, it's just really cool. Kukar, you guys got to get better usernames. I don't know how to pronounce this. Maybe it's a taste thing, but I feel you've fallen for a very tempting level design pitfall. Ceiling and floor textures shouldn't be the exact same. Well, no. So I think this is this I'm using as a placeholder, by the way. I'm still gonna use the tiles and stuff. I'm just using it for a color reference right now. But I am gonna make my own. Yeah, it is gonna be its own thing. But I'm kind of just more focusing on trims, and then going back and forth between tiles, trims, tiles, until I get sort of. So I'm gonna I need to touch up these walls, and there is a specific thing I want to do for the ceiling. I want to have a row of ceiling tiles that is like a light fixtures that has lights on them, like down the middle row. That's what I want to do. And then on the sides, because this is the thinking I needed to figure out before I just started randomly texturing. I needed to figure out, firstly, how wide the ceiling was going to be, which I now know, and then how I'd break it up. So this isn't going to be all one pattern, because I've got 3 blocks here I've made. So the sides are going to have a zigzag sort of pattern on them, like a scaffolding pattern on them. And the middle is going to have light fixtures. That's sort of what I'm going to do. The main thing I'm doing with these bits, because I haven't modeled these ceilings in properly yet, so I don't know how I'll do those. But for these corridors, the plan is because then, you know, you might have an idea of the shapes and what they'll be, but then it's like, well, what color and how dark, how light should they be? And I think what I'm going to do, I think the ceiling should be, the sides of these should be the darkest out of the entire set. So whatever pattern I do here is going to be like the darkest in value. And the middle is going to be the brightest with the lights on them. And it has to be darker than the floor. I think maybe, I don't know if the floor maybe is too dark even at the moment. We'll see. But the thing I feel like should be happening is dark on the ceiling, and then it sort of gets kind of lighter on the walls. Like your attention should go to the walls is sort of what I want. And then the floor is like just bright enough that you can see the detail on the floor and you can see where you're landing and stuff. That's sort of what I want there. But yeah, it's a process. I'm kind of just working out color, basic shape first, and then we'll get to, yeah, it'll be a process. But Giovanni says the famous music Bad Apple is entirely okay, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Your casual reaction to pixel art is probably where the truth is, marketing wise. I mean, yeah, that could be the case too. In terms of like it looking lowbrow, which I don't know if that's the best word for it. If you mean as in like it's unappealing because it's been sort of sullied by lots of bad pixel art, I mean, yeah, maybe that is still the case then. I don't know. Like, I know that there is an audience for it. That's the thing, is that they're obviously selling well enough for there to be an audience for it. But I know that it's not me. I know that I wouldn't buy it just because, I don't know, it's not my taste. I don't know. That's actually a good thing. I don't know why that is, actually. I've never thought to ask that question before, of why I don't like it. Like, it's not that I don't like it. Like that specific example, it looks good, but I just don't feel a drive to play it. If that makes... I don't know. It's sort of like I don't know. It's sort of like with Warframe, where it's like, this looks sick, but it's not for me. I don't know if that makes sense. I have a very picky, specific thing of what I want to play, so maybe it's just a me thing. But it doesn't matter what I think about it anyway, because obviously other people like it. So that's like, who cares? Like, if I don't like it, whatever, because it's obviously doing fine. I think the problem would be is if it was... I think maybe this was the case 5 years ago. Maybe it was the case where it was like... It was so... a reputation was sort of synonymous with bad quality so much that even the people that would have liked it were deterred or something like that. So I don't know. It's... maybe it's... I don't know. But it's probably... I think it's fine now. Because I think it just means that... Well, when I think about it, I think what the real truth of it is that a good game will not be ruined by circumstances like that anyway. Like, when I think about games like Celeste, they kind of came out in that period where no one was buying pixel art games, really. Like, it was 2017 or whatever. And I remember, especially back then, anyone on Reddit that posted pixel art was like laughed at. But Celeste did really well. And I think it's because, like, timeless games that do all of this perfectly, just the specific conditions of the market at that time just don't touch it, if that makes sense. Like, the game is so good that it changes the circumstances in its own favor with how well made it is, that it changes the tide without needing to, like, you know... It can come out at any time and it'll work. Like, that's the really rare exceptional cases that I think are really awesome, personally. Where it's so good that it doesn't matter when you release it, there'll always be a demand for it because it's just so good. And it's so high above everything else at every point in time. Because that's the other thing. It also has to be so much better than the competition. And I think anything... Even if it's in a bad season, if you want to call it that, if it's not in season, if pixel art is not in season or whatever, whatever, if it's that good, it's just gonna, it'll just dominate. That's what I think will happen with those sorts of things. But getting to that level is a lot of work. That's why most people don't get there. And that's why, I don't know, I can try all I want, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll even get there, but I'm going to try. So, have I heard about Shovel Knight? I've heard of Shovel Knight. I have not played it. I know that the guy is the knight with a shovel. That's all I know about it. You don't like pixel art because it upsets the voices. Probably. It's just because I didn't grow up playing pixel art games. I grew up playing 3D games. That's probably why. But if I was raised on pixel art games, I'd probably have a different opinion. Yeah, that would probably be, I guess that's kind of all there is to it, really. Like, the thing is, though, is that doesn't matter really, because there are people today that are like 8 years old today that are playing like Shovel Knight or whatever, and they're growing up on those games, and those will be the guys when they're 20 that will be buying the next wave of pixel art games that get made then. The thing is that the ones that get bought will not be the ones they won't be the average ones. They're the ones that will get bought are going to be the ones that continue. I guess you could call it a tradition, if you will. Like the whole impression, appeal, aesthetics, like all of that. It's kind of like a tradition that's passed down. If you think about it like that, think about it as like tradition. The games that pass that tradition of trying to make it beautiful, that follow those rules, that play that game, that play that ritual. It is a ritual, really. The guys there sitting day after day, going pixel after pixel. It's a ritual of trying to make something beautiful. Whereas, most shovelware games are not following that ritual. That's what differentiates the two, is that one of the slop games are not following the ritual, and those will not propagate. And the ones that are will inspire other people to propagate the ritual forward in their own thing. If you think about it like that, it seems kind of like that's kind of what happens in life. That sort of seems like what's going on. So, because all of these games like Shovel Knight or whatever, Shovel Knight, I'm guessing it's a pixel art game. It just sounds like the name of a pixel art game. But those games were probably inspired by the well-made pixel art games from the generation before. And those people it probably resonated with, and they went, man, I really love playing Super Mario 3 in 1986 or whatever, and I need to make my thing of this. And they probably went so hard on all of this stuff about design in their stuff, and that's why they got rewarded and their stuff worked. And that's going to be a cycle that happened. I don't know. It just feels like that's what's going on. I don't have the Steam statistics to back that up with, but it feels like that's what I observe. And I think for me, I'm in the 3D family. I'm in the 3D lineage, if you will. So those people doing that, they're in the line of evolution of the 2D stuff. And that's their culture, if you want to look at it like that. Those are the custodians of 2D pixel art, and they're of a kind. And it sort of should be the case that only those that appreciate pixel art should be the ones making pixel art. And for me, I don't I can appreciate it from a distance, but it's not my cup of tea. And it's because I'm in a different lineage. I'm in a different family tree. I'm in the 3D stuff. So if you showed me like a 3D game from 20 years ago, I would go completely ham and nuts over it. But if you showed that to someone that really digs pixel art, they're probably going to have the same opinion that I would have of pixel art, where it's like, oh, yeah, it's cool, but it's not for me. It's going to be the same. So it's like I don't know, it's sort of like delineating family trees of interests of whatever you find cool. I guess that's sort of how it seems to be like to me. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but that's how I think about it. But, yeah. But in terms of how I'm going to address the patterns, yeah, it's just going to be figuring it out, I guess, to wrap up the topic on levels. I'll just see if there's any other last questions, and then I'm going to get going. The Deology says, from an architecture view, the ceiling should always be lighter than the floor to make the space feel bigger. Okay. The opposite is also true if the goal is to make it more cramped. Well, yeah, so I think maybe that's what I was... Well, the key is, I need to know what I want, ultimately. So I don't know, I just had a feeling that I needed to make the ceiling darker than the floor. And I don't know why, but I just felt that that's what I needed to. So, yeah, maybe, well, ultimately, when I need to decide what I want, if I would decide I want it to feel big or not. And I think for these corridors, my voice tells me it needs to feel narrow. And then for other areas, like maybe this room, I don't know, maybe for the whole thing, it actually might work out. Because it's meant to feel kind of ominous. And I think bigger and brighter is not the way. Like that feels like that attitude with the brighter ceilings. It feels like that should be for another level, if that makes sense. So maybe that's what I do want. The intent of the artist really is what supersedes all of it. That's what comes first. So when I know that that's what I want, it's just going to be like putting it together in a way to achieve that intention by getting the impression right and everything else. And King says that would be a good thing to exploit without making the play space tighter. Yeah. You know, when you word it like that, I think that is what I want. I want it to feel tight without it actually being tight. That, I don't know, when I say it like that, it sounds correct for this level. That's how it should be. So I think that was the issue with the old version of this that I did. I don't think I've even got it in the stage anymore, unfortunately. Oh, no, wait a minute. I think I still have this version. Like this, yeah, so this was the previous from a few weeks ago when I had the corridors. These were really tight corridors. Like, if we put Gabi in... Like, these were really small. I know it kind of looks big when I've got Gabi zoomed out like this, but you didn't have a lot of wiggle room in here. Like, these were very tight. Like, you had maybe 4 or 5 meters of room. And I remember thinking, this isn't enough. There needs to be more space and more freedom. But it should not feel completely open. It should feel a little bit claustrophobic, a little contained. Contained is a key word. I do have words that come to mind of this level that I want, where it's like contained, because the whole kind of narrative of this is Gabi is contained in this level. She's contained as a lab subject. So contained, cold, there's a third word, medical, and invasive, but I don't really know. I know I have an image that comes to my head when I say that, but it's not, I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know how to explain it. I'm not going to try, but it's, there's like a vision of like, I don't know, it's like a snapshot in my head of some image that I can't describe, but it's just there, and I know that there's like a feeling. So, yeah. So I guess that would mean that dark ceilings is the right call, if that's what I want. There's all of this. So this is, yeah, but also having it so that the geometry isn't cramped, because obviously I think any part of the game that's this cramped is just not going to be fun, because it has to be fun, ultimately. So that's kind of the key challenge. But yeah. What's the time? I should get going soon, guys, but thanks for hanging out. Oh, no, there was one more thing. I'll get going after this because I do have to eat. But there was something I forgot to mention that I need to bring up. This was an unexpected part of my week I had to deal with. I'll get my face cam up because that's all the development stuff. But lately, there's been some other things going on. I was alerted to this yesterday. Some of you might have seen it around, but apparently there's like some scammer out there now. Like Project Feline has now reached the status where scammers are now trying to use it to spread malware. So that's kind of cool, I guess. So now we're at the stage where, like, I don't think Project Feline isn't that popular really, but we're at the stage now where it's like enough that people are wanting to like rip it off. So that's kind of cool, but not really, because people are getting malware, and that's not cool. So if anyone gets messages from people or whatever, I don't know how they're doing it, but I've been told that apparently there's someone on the Discord or something that's like DMing people saying, oh, can you, my friends and I worked on this game, can you check it out? And it's like my game, but renamed or something. So here's like, I think it's common sense to just not click on stuff in general. Like, I don't do that. But if, in case you need to be told, if some guy that you don't know is messaging you directly with any link to anything, just don't click on it. You don't have to read it. It's not, you're like, just don't do it, okay? That's going to be my public service announcement for this week. Because I don't know. Look, I don't know what's going on with it. I haven't looked into it deeply, but I know someone's out there spreading evil, and it's not cool, guys. It's got to stop. But yeah, just don't like read messages from strangers. Don't have your DMs open at all. That's what I do. Okay, that's how I avoid scams. I just don't message people, and I just don't do that, and you'll be fine. But if you really want to, if you need that, just don't. If anyone's sending you a link to anything, just don't freaking click on it, guys, okay? If it was that important, your friends would be telling you about it, not some random person that you've never met. Even me, if it's me doing it, if I want you to play the game, I'm not going to DM you, okay? I'm going to have a way more efficient way of letting you know. I'm not going to be messaging you one at a time, wasting my time like one person writing the message and giving you a link to an unlisted trailer. No, that's like the lamest, most inefficient way. Like, no serious game dev is doing that. So if you're getting those messages, I mean, common sense, just don't do it. But if in case you're not sure and you're like 13 years old or something and you don't know that this happens, this stuff does happen. People are out to get you. Just ignore it. It's not important. Don't give it any oxygen. Just don't freaking click on anything, okay? You should only be talking... If you're a kid that is gullible to this stuff, you shouldn't be talking to strangers anyway. You should be using your Discord for your friends, and that's it. That's all you should be doing. You shouldn't even be having these problems at all. But if you are getting that, if you are in that pool and you're getting spammed with project whatever with Gabi that is some rip-off thing, just don't click on it. But thanks for people for letting me know about it. Thanks for reporting it. What can you do about that kind of thing? Well, not much, honestly. The best thing is to just not interact with it, because if you don't interact with it, then the scam doesn't work, because no one gets malware if nobody cares. So apathy is the best killer, I've found. So I think that, yeah, I didn't want to make a huge deal out of it, because like, again, if I make a huge deal out of it, it gets worse. Just general rule, just don't talk to people. Just be a monk, be Luke Skywalker on your island and talk to nobody. You won't get scammed and you'll be safe. But if you do want to talk to people and on Discord, yeah, don't answer messages with links in them. Just don't do it, man. It's not worth it. Project Flatline. I don't know. It was some weird, I don't know what the name of it was, but they tried to like Photoshop over the logo. That's the funny thing, is that it wasn't even good. Like, it was obviously fake. Like, they didn't have the design, okay? That's the thing I was annoyed by, honestly. It wasn't even the fact they were trying to rip it off. Is that they did such a bad job. Like, they added this ugly gray outline to, like, they had the picture of, like, the YouTube thumbnail. And the thumbnail is just my trailer or something. And they had this, like, gray... Not white, but a gray outline that completely ruins the composition of the thing. And they had the logo off center. And I'm just like, are these guys stupid? Like, do people not pay attention to this stuff? Like, is this serious? But, yeah, so that kind of what bothered me more. So they got to try harder, man. But ultimately, it won't work if you just don't care. If you don't look at it, just don't interact with it. You'll be safe. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's all I got for this week. Don't answer your messages. If you do, okay, for those that actually do want, like, if something does happen with the game, and if the demo's finished, and when that does happen, how will you know? And I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to hear about it on Discord DMs, okay? I'm not going to be telling you about it like that. What I will be doing is probably releasing some kind of video for it. Or better yet, if you're inundated by algorithmic content like I am on YouTube, and you don't end up finding it, you will instead find it on an email list which I've set up. So I'll link that in the chat now. This is the 100% real. This is the one link you should be clicking on. Just ignore everything else. Don't click on links ever unless it's this link. At the bottom of the actual website, there is an email thing where you can subscribe to my email list. And that will be the way I tell you. I'm not going to be DMing you one at a time. That's such a waste of time to do that. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to be sending you all an email that's like, hey, by the way, this is out. I'm not going to be like giving you a link to an unlisted itch page or some crap like that. And the images that I will send in this email will be well composited and well designed with proper font choice, proper shadows, none of this gray outline crap. It's gonna be good, okay? You're not gonna see this jank, like, bad assets on them. They're gonna be well designed emails. So that's how you will know if it's the real deal. It's not gonna be this junk Project K9, whatever the hell it's... I don't even know what it was called. It was some stupid name, too. It was, like, hard to pronounce and stuff. So it's like, yeah. I just thought it was kind of funny. Nice try, Raymond. I'm not falling for it. No! Okay, but real. I'm not trying to scam you, okay? Oh, God. Now none of you trust me. Uh-oh. Okay, well, I don't know, do whatever you want, I guess. Because I am a stranger, so yeah, you shouldn't listen to me either. See, Mad Goose has passed the test. So yeah, that's a smart one. So I don't know. There's nothing much I can say about it. Just don't, just don't like fall for scams and stuff. And don't use Discord, basically. Just get the hell off it, man. It's not that good. I'm on there because I have to be. I have my supporters there, and I appreciate those guys that help like support it. But I don't know, man. Discord's not really, it's not all that, man. You don't need to be on there all the time. That's going to be my parting words for this week. Just get off Discord and talk to real people. And until then, I will see you for another stream next week, hopefully with some more cool trims, some more design, some more beauty, some more whatever, some more cooking on trying to make cool levels. And hopefully for this patrons, I'm working really hard to have a preview soon of this video. So until then, I'll see you then.